most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist, born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars, found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that has not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered lens? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
Every once in a while, an opportunity comes along that can change your life. For the drivers tonight, that opportunity looms at the end of the year. If they win the 11-round SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge, they can pick up one of 3 prizes. Win a test in a real SPEC MX-5 race car, a track day with full team support, or 2 days with LevelUp Racing School. Each of these prizes are valued at over $4,000 each. The first event takes place right here at Virginia International Raceway, and it begins now. Welcome to SYM TV and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. Finian, we're about to embark on an incredible journey with some incredible drivers.
Yeah, indeed. So a very big field here tonight for the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge here at Virginia International Raceway, and you can already see off into the distance a bunch of cars already on the track.
We've got 15 minutes of qualifying underway, open qualifying here in the SPEC MX-5 Challenge. So what are we doing here, Finian? We are racing about 40 cars for 11 events in 2019, and at the end of the year, they get to pick one of those prizes if they come out on top as the champion. And this is not a weak field of drivers, Finian. This is some of the best drivers in the iRacing Motorsport Simulation Service. Got a couple pro drivers in here as well, and one of them, John D. Allen, who is known for being one of the Mazda Road to Pro drivers and has also competed in the SPEC MX-5 Challenge. The pro drivers are ineligible to win the prizes, but they are still here to race and have a great time with everybody else. So we do want to thank our great sponsors for being on board with us this season. We want to give a special thank you to Winding Road Magazine and Winding Road Racing for allowing us here from SYM TV to come on board and give us access to their YouTube channel, which is an immense trust for them. But you can visit all their stuff at www.windingroad.com. Ricmotech High Performance Racing Equipment, they are giving away prizes for each race. And off the top of my head, I believe it's $100 for the winner for each event.
Yes.
So again, check out their stuff at www.ricmotech.com. And again, a huge thank you to them for coming on board. LevelUp Racing School offering one of the season-end prizes. You can find them at levelupracingschool.com. And of course, this whole season is emulating the SPEC MX-5 Challenge Series. So we are imitating the schedule that they run in 2019. I think there was actually a schedule change that moved VIR off the schedule, but we're still sticking true to what it was a couple months ago. And again, we also want to especially thank iRacing Motorsport Simulations. This is the iRacing platform. This is iRacing.com, and if you want to go out and check out how these guys are racing this, you can go to www.iracing.com and get yourself signed up. Also, all opinions that are said tonight are from the members of SYM TV and do not represent Winding Road Racing, Winding Road Magazine, or SPEC MX-5 in any way, shape, or form.
And speaking of SYM TV, we should probably introduce ourselves because I'm sure most of the people don't know who's talking to them right now. I'm with Kyle Heyer, that was the guy who was talking before me. I'm Finian Dcunha, and we're alongside Jarrett Maki. We're going to be bringing you the action here from VR with the SPEC MX-5 Challenge.
Yeah, we're from a much smaller YouTube channel over at www.youtube.com/SimTV Broadcasting, and we have about 600 subscribers, but it's been about a year since we started broadcasting iRacing events, and it's been a fantastic year. So we're looking forward to really expanding in 2019, and this is a fantastic opportunity, not only for the drivers in the field, but also for us here up in the booth. So really looking forward to bringing you some great content this year. 11 rounds. The schedule is in the description, as well as all the links to all the sponsors. And another sponsor we forgot to mention was Matthews Imports of Binghamton, New York, for lending us that 2018 MX-5 for that intro video, and that car is for sale. So you can go ahead and check that out. I think it was a really good price. It's like $22K for a brand new.
It was a bargain.
Brand new car. So and we are racing the NC generation Miatas, which is what they race in the SPEC MX-5 Challenge. So emulating it as closely as we can.
Indeed. So speaking of emulating, too, we're going to go to several tracks across the iRacing servers and across the United States. We're going to Sebring, Coda, Summit Point, Road Atlanta, and Road America, just to name a few of those tracks. But we're going all over the country to the pretty much the best road courses in this country.
I'm really looking forward to it, Finian. As you see the field scrolling across the top of your screen, let's tell you how to read it. The top of the screen, all the drivers in white are AM-level racers. They are eligible for the season-end prizes, and most of them have real-world racing experience, but not at the pro level. So all the drivers in white are AMs. There are a couple drivers that are highlighted in gold and have a pro designation added to them. Those are the pro drivers. I believe we have 2 of them tonight. One of them being John D. Allen, and the other one being Dakota Dickerson. Allen in the 02, Dickerson in the 43. So that is how we're going to read that tonight. And right now, again, about 10 minutes left in qualifying here to set the start of the race. And 20-minute race round 1 and 30-minute race for round number 2. So we'll have a short break in between. We'll do some interviews with the drivers from the podium, and we'll carry on. So I'm really excited. This is an exciting opportunity for everybody here. But Finian, let me tell you, VIR, an amazing racetrack for sure.
Yeah, indeed it is. And considering the long straightaways that we have here, I was watching a little bit of practice. These guys are forming trains of about 10 to 15 cars, and that's very similar to what happens in the real-life SPEC MX-5 series. So, very similar to that. These guys are going to be drafting in big groups considering the long straightaways that they have here at VRR. And
a couple interesting things to mention is that there are some drivers here that are not from the United States. One of them being Jake Hewlett, who's from the UK, known on Twitch as YT Biggs. And Finian, Jake is currently racing at about 3 a.m. in local time. So that is dedication. Absolute dedication. And we're very excited to have drivers like him with us. And again, he has no real-world racing experience, but trust me, he knows iRacing in and out.
Indeed. So, and also I should note, too, since we have it up on the screen, that IR designation with the 6,835, that's an I rating, and that's pretty much iRacing's way of ranking all the drivers on the service. That generally gives you a number of basically indicates how good of a driver you are. The average for all the drivers on the service is 1,350. And so, you can see the number goes up a lot. And basically, the highest numbers for the drivers on the road side of things is about 10,000, 11,000. Yeah.
So. Robert Hartley, if you go to the iRacing member site and you sort by the iRating level, Robert Hartley's on the first page of about 50,000 members. Yeah. So Robert Hartley is extremely talented. You see him drop a wheel there a little bit. 9641 iRating, extremely skilled, also has no real-world racing experience, and I guess he'd be a great guy to throw in an MX-5 at the end of the year, but he's going to have to earn it and beat all the rest of this field. A lot of other drivers in here, Finian, that we're familiar with. Jonathan Dcunha coming over from the SCAR side of things, the Sim Championship Racing Series iRacing League, the first group we ever worked with, and very excited to have a lot of those guys with us here tonight.
Yeah, indeed. So we're just kind of going through the field as these drivers are putting down times. They got about another 7.5 minutes left to put down time in qualifying here.
And riding on board with Thomas Bresci in the number 25 car, running a purple livery here tonight, taking a big chunk of curbs here, Finian. You want to use a little bit because they can help your car rotate.
Yeah, you want to use a little bit, but you want to make sure you don't use a lot of it because, as you can see, right behind the curbing, there's a lot of grass. And I describe VRR as a sea of grass because there's little to any asphalt runoff. It's pretty much just a few curbs and then straight up grass. These guys got to be careful. They can definitely use the curbs, and you have to use the curbs to get the best times. We got to be careful because it's a knife's edge between the asphalt and the grass.
We want to also welcome, we haven't let Jarrett talk yet, Jarrett Maki, who is a new guy here at SYM TV from the University of Michigan in going for broadcasting. So Jarrett, welcome, and this is obviously a very exciting event for you. I think it's your first week here, and you're already getting thrown into the big event. So how are you?
Great. Thank you guys for having me. Really excited to see how this race goes tonight, and really excited to help the viewers at home figure out a little bit more about these drivers competing here tonight.
Yeah, so Jarrett will be providing analysis alongside of our play-by-play commentary. Finian, 6.5 minutes left in qualifying, and Jesse Stevens in the 13 car. He was very quick in the practice we had a couple days ago, and looks very quick right now at 2:10.586, his best time at the moment.
Yeah, and he's has some pretty good pace at the moment. He's 0.5 of a second faster than Michael Borden in second, so he's got a significant gap to first place. Again, still enough time left for a lot of drivers to put down better times.
And this is the coolest thing about iRacing is yes, this is a league race here, but you can go into official sessions and race drivers like Sage Karam. I'm trying to think of some other ones.
I'm actually going to end up racing in Sage Karam at one point.
Christopher Bell from the NASCAR side of things, Bubba Wallace, Tony Stewart. And you can race those people just by owning iRacing. And tonight, you can see Dakota Dickerson, a pro-level driver, he's sitting in 9th right now, behind 8 guys that have never set foot in a professional race car. So that is simply phenomenal. I mean, that is so cool that these guys can compete with some of the best in the world.
Yeah, indeed. Also of note too, I remember Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. They were doing, they're actually doing F1 testing right now. But during the off season, they were on iRacing, driving along with other members. Some drivers going for a spin.
That's the 34 car, and
you just passed him.
34 of Matt Busa. And Matt Busa, speaking of real-world racing affiliations here, Finian, Matt Busa is a member of the Williams esports team over on the iRacing Peak Antifreeze Cup Series side of things. And so we're excited to have him here with us tonight. And from Darien, Illinois, 6249 road iRating. I'm sure it's quite a bit higher on the oval side of things, but he's going to make some right turns tonight with us. And again, we're just about ready to get going racing. 20 minutes is the first race, but we have a couple more minutes to get there and set the grid for that first event. And all the cars here are slightly different colors. There are some that are very close, Finian, but they're all different colors. Green, gold, blue, red. It's a rainbow. It's like Skittles out there.
Yeah, the colors don't mean anything. It's more just up to driver preference. At that point, what colors they want to run. They have to run these fixed paint schemes.
And these are based off of the real-world SPEC MX-5 livery. And you can find information on who painted this in the description of the video. Down at the bottom, there's information there that leads you to, I believe it's just pronounced Night Fox Designs. And you can go to his Facebook page, and he does some phenomenal work. So right now, we got 4 minutes left. Jesse Stevens still on top, but DJ Alessandrini in the number 91, he's probably one of the best drivers I've seen around in sim racing. He's won every championship that we've streamed with him in it, and I don't expect a whole lot to change coming up this season, but he's going to have a lot stiffer competition here.
Indeed, so he's currently in second place again, chasing Jesse Stevens as well as the rest of the field, but it's currently running in second. Yeah, we've seen him do some fantastic things in MX-5s, although in the newer generation, but you know, an MX-5 is an MX-5 for the most part. Minor changes between the generations, but definitely expect him to be up towards the front of the field.
Cooper Lilly in the 69 car out on track right now, 14th, and look at this, if we ride on board the nose, look at that train of cars here, Finian. And VIR, quite a long racetrack, and you know what that means? It's mean a lot of drafting.
Yeah, indeed. So I was talking about it earlier about these trains of drivers forming, and you're definitely going to see it in the first opening laps as drivers are trying to get themselves sorted out, but pretty much the draft's going to be a huge effect here, just due to the long straightaways.
You can see we're riding on board, heading down to Oak Tree Corner. Unfortunately, this tree no longer exists in the real-world racetrack, but it's still here in iRacing Motorsport Simulations, and it is a beautiful corner indeed, but it sets you up for the longest straightaway of the course.
Yeah, indeed. This is where we're going to see a lot of guys setting up passes as we ride on board with the 69 of Cooper Lilly. As they head off down towards Roller Coaster, you can see that they're trying to build up drafts on each other as the driver ahead of them is currently pulling off. But yeah, this is where we're going to see a lot of passes being set up just due to the draft.
Yeah, Cooper Lilly is a driver from Henderson, Kentucky. He has experience in club and regional level racing with SCCA, NASA, AER. So he'll be one to watch here tonight.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of guys in here that have prior racing experience, but you know, racing in the SCCA, NASA, AER, BMW, PCA, all those categories, Finian, we've seen a lot of drivers that race either one or many of those series, and you know, they might still be classified as AM, but that doesn't mean they haven't raced at least a little bit in the real world in some way, shape, or form. A lot of these guys are weekend warriors. They'll take their cars in their garage, they'll soup them up and go racing on the weekends. And just like you saw in the intro, there's a lot of people that really, really care about the world of motorsports, and Cooper Lilly's one of them.
Yeah, indeed, and he puts down a 2:13.3 last time by.
And we'll just watch the lap here. He's riding on board down into turn number 1, and you can see all the way down to second gear, about 45 miles an hour. Then you're going to pick back up, and this is where it gets interesting. This 2, 3, 4, 5 corner section is very tricky because you can't really pass people here because you got to get offline, and then you get put back to the other side of the track for the next corner. So you have to kind of plan out your attack, and then, whoa, you see a car going wide there. There's one of the purple machines. But then you got to set yourself up for the S's and up the hill here, and Finian, it's a very fast section. And these cars have literally no downforce. And as they head up through the S's, they're bouncing off the curbs. It's a full throttle section through here.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, you're saying it's going to be difficult to go through that first sector of the track. And these guys got to be careful because you know, when you try to make a pass, we've seen from past broadcast drivers trying to make a pass in that section, they usually end up getting into each other at some point. So these guys got to be careful with the aggression level going through those corners.
See about 115 miles an hour at the top of 5th gear, but they're going to be going even faster than that with a draft. Now you see them drop a wheel off course, and let's remind you of the incident system here tonight, Finian. Again, there is an incident limit here within iRacing, so if you drop that center line of the race car over the edge of the course, you'll pick up a 1x. If you make hard contact with another car, a 4x. Light contact is a 0x. If you spin out, it's a 2x. So you have to keep that in mind as you race, because if you accumulate, I believe it's 15 of them. Here's the format here for the night. 15 incident limit in the first race and a 17 incident limit in the second race. So you got to keep yourself in check. And don't be bumping and banging out there. You get yourself DQ'd.
Yeah, I mean, really, those incident points really rack up, especially if you make car contact. That's 4x right there. So if you do the math at home, if you hit 4 cars at any different times during the race, you get kicked from the race. So these guys got to be careful. They got to be on their A game and make sure that they keep those cars clean.
All right, well, Jesse Stevens is probably going to pick up the pole here. He's about 0.4 of a second ahead of the next quickest guy, and there the checkered flag is flying. But anyone that's on a lap now can conclude their lap that they started. So Cooper Lilly will be one of those drivers. Chris Henn, Robert Hartley, and all these other guys that are out on course. Actually, Hartley's pulling into the pits. But anybody that's out on the track right now can finish their lap and still log a time. It's not set in stone yet, but right now Jesse Stevens looking like he's pretty good for the pole.
Yeah, definitely, and by a significant margin too over Allison Andrini in the 91. So he's done a fantastic job of getting a good gap in that 13. We'll see how that translates over into the race.
All right, Michael Borden in the 42 sitting in third right now. And actually, I have a question about it for Jarrett. What experience does Borden have? He's sitting in third behind two very, very accomplished racers. How about that 42 of Michael Borden?
Yeah, Michael Borden, one of those guys, you know, he's kind of out. We expected him to be fast tonight. He's not on my spreadsheet here. I was getting ready to tell you a little bit about Jesse Stevens, who's the current pole sitter. Yep. He's from Talmo, Georgia, and he competed in the 2008 AMA Red Bull Rookies Cup. So some really good experience for him.
Yeah, and I set up a trap for Jarrett there. I did. Some of the drivers didn't respond to the Google Forms poll, so not all the drivers are in that document with information available to us. But Borden sitting in third. Chris Henn, another one of those drivers that I've raced personally against a bunch within the iRacing software, Finian. And Chris Henn is also extremely talented. He's going to start from fourth place right now, unless he improves his lap this time through, which we'll see here in just a moment.
Chris Henn is from Coram, New York. He's an amateur driver who sometimes does time trials. He's sponsored by Mike's GC Shell, and he was an ex-motocross racer for over 10 years. So
wow.
Some real-world racing experience under his belt.
And it's paying off, fourth for him in this qualifying session. And everyone's kind of wrapping up here, Finian, so it looks like we're going to have the grid set there on the left-hand side of your screen. There are 40 cars entered to race tonight, and we'll show you the grid when they get out on the track in a moment. But they're scrolling across the top of your screen right now, and again, it'll show 4 drivers at a time. We'll pull this one up every now and then just to show you what's going on in terms of the gaps between all the drivers. But for now, it looks like Jesse Stevens, Alessandrini, Michael Borden, Chris Henn, and Robert Hartley going to be your top 5 concluding this first session. So then we race for 20 minutes straight up, and then we'll determine the winner for race number 1. We'll assign points, do some interviews, and we'll go again for race number 2. And it's going to be a great night of racing, and then we'll do it all over again in a couple months in March.
Yeah, indeed. So it's going to be fairly quick races, all things considered. A 20-minute race followed by a 30-minute race. So not a lot of time for these guys, especially considering we got almost 40 cars here. So if you're a guy starting in the back of the field, you got a lot of work ahead of you to try to move up to the front. Again, only top 20 drivers will be awarded points. 20 for first place, 19 for second, and so on and so forth to 1 point for 20th. So any drivers on back, you don't get anything.
The pro driver Dakota Dickerson qualifies 11th. So he's got 10 drivers that have never raced a pro-level racing machine. They're sitting ahead of him. So that just goes to show the level of competition we have here tonight. 5 seconds left in qualifying, and that will set your grid. There's one lonely car left out there, and that is Jake Hewlett in the 81. He'll qualify 7th on the night. And we'll turn it over and go to race mode here, Finian. 20 minutes to determine the winner of race number 1. And the driver's going to grid up. It'll be a rolling start here tonight, so they'll run the entire distance of the course around in a pace lap fashion, and then we'll turn them loose for 20 minutes. It's about 10 laps here if it all is nice and tidy for the leaders up front. See that number 13 car sitting on the pole. All right, so again, we'll remind you of the format for tonight's event. And about 8:45 right now, and we're about to get ready to go racing for 20 minutes. And let's keep in mind, 2 championship point deduction for exceeding 15 points. You do not want to get yourself in trouble there. 30 minutes sprint race for race number 2, incident limit of 17. And again, the same 2 championship point deduction for exceeding 17 incidents. So you can go over, you won't get yourself DQ'd. But we do have a live race admin who is watching everything, and he will assign pass-through penalties if necessary, if people are abusing track limits or if there's avoidable contact, that sort of thing.
Yeah, indeed. So these guys are not getting off scot-free just because it's on a computer. These guys are going to be held pretty much to real-world standards. These guys got to have etiquette. They got to give and take here and there. Because again, it's a short race and the intensity is going to be high. But these guys got to keep it at bay for this race. All right. Well, again, we're at Virginia International Raceway, a beautiful 17-turn road course, and
One of the things I like to talk about VIR here, Finian, and there's a lot of space out here, and there's not a lot of walls, but you know, there is a lot of grass. There's runoff, if you could call it that, but if you slip a wheel off course, you're going for a ride.
Yeah, and again, too, we were talking about just the fact that it's completely surrounded by grass, so those incident points can rack up really quickly. If you just dip a wheel out here, if you just run wide in one corner here and there, those points will add up, so you got to make sure these guys got to make sure they keep it on the black tarmac.
How about the conditions tonight? 68 degrees in the air, 100 on the racetrack. A little bit toasty, a little bit slick when the weather is hot. But again, the drivers probably won't rubber in the track a whole lot just because the race is short enough where it won't matter too much. But they will warm up the racing line a little bit. So here we go. We're rolling off here, Finian, and we're going to start pacing. And look at that field of race cars. There is a whole lot of them.
It's a rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. Not sponsored by Skittles, but I wish we were. You know who we are sponsored by, though? All the people that are listed in the description. We want to give another huge thank you to Rick Motek's SPEC MX-5, Winding Road, and LevelUp Racing School for coming on board. Ooh, a little bit of a stack up there in the pace laps. That's Christian Ost in the... Well, actually, that's the 36 car. That was a little slow off the line there. And again, we're not racing just yet. We're going to go around one pace lap here before we turn them loose. And that 36, trying to find the name of that driver. Thomas Pendergrass in 36 got off to a little bit of a slow start.
Yeah, he's got it rolling and underway. These guys are just going to try to catch the pace car.
Pace car is pretty quick around here, so we're making pretty good time around this course. And again, 100 degrees on the racetrack. Look at it, just ticked over to 101 here, Finian. And with iRacing just adding some beautiful clouds here within the iRacing simulation service. The clouds can come over and cool that track down. We've seen how much that can affect track temp, so we'll keep that in mind. Yeah,
we've heard a lot from drivers saying, you know, as soon as a big cloud comes over and covers the track, the track temperature drops and the grip levels go up. And we heard time and time again of that really helping out some drivers. So potentially could happen here. There's quite a few clouds up in the sky, so it could definitely affect them.
There's your top group of drivers there. We mentioned Dickerson in the 43 in 11th as that pro driver. We'll see if he can claw his way forward. And there's the rest of the grid that we'll scroll on through. So that is going to be your starting order for tonight. And you can see a lot of drivers, a lot of names that we're familiar with. David Wilson being another one of them. Ryan McPhail, another one from the Sim Championship Racing Series. A lot of drivers that we're very familiar to seeing on here on Sim TV.
Yeah, and Jarrett, so what do you think that a lot of these guys got to look out for in this race going forward, being the first race of the season?
Well, Finian, I think the thing that I'm most concerned about is patience, because I don't think drivers have a whole lot of it. This is the first event. Drivers aren't used to working with each other necessarily. This is a track that requires a lot of patience, a lot of drafting, and we might not see that patience in this first round. I think in race 2, it might be a little bit calmer after everyone's kind of gotten used to each other, but for now, it might be a little dicey in the first couple laps. But being patient and being aggressive when you need to be is going to be extremely important tonight.
Yeah, Jerry, your opinion?
Yeah, I think the big thing is going to be the difference between those who don't have real-life racing experience and those who do have real-life racing experience. I think that's where the patience gap's going to come in. But those guys who don't have real racing experience will be itching to get that end-of-the-season prize and try to put some stuff on their resume for real life.
All right, so field is gathering up on that long back straightaway here, Finian, and it is a long one indeed. We talk about the drafting being important, but it leads up to a very tight complex here known as roller coaster around the Virginia International Raceway. And you come out down here, look at that long straightaway, then look at the section it comes to. It's a tight section.
Yeah, if we could actually quickly ride on board with someone, it's pretty much a blind corner over a hill. You have to kind of guess almost where the corner is. And remember, we're higher than where the drivers are sitting right now.
Yeah, actually, if we could sit inside the roll bar here, this is actually just a little bit over the driver's eye. Actually, we might want to get even lower if we can. There we go. That's about driver's eye level here. This is another blind corner down here in the roller coaster section. Look at that. You can't even see the pace car where he is right now. So disappearing off into the last couple of corners. And the pace car is going to pull off, and it's going to turn the field over for 20 minutes around Virginia International Raceway for round 1 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge with $4,000 worth of prizes on the line at the end of the season. And individual prizes assigned for each race coming to the green flag. Green flag in the air, we're racing here at VIR.
Oh, and several drivers already getting out wide. Everyone's scrambling as they head off into turn 1.
Look at this, we're 3 wide in the first couple rows right here, Finian. You gotta be careful. This is kind of the thing I was talking about. You don't want to get yourself into trouble early, but so far so good for the front runners.
Oh,
maybe a little bit of shuffling.
Wide.
I think we made it through here okay. There is a couple cars spinning towards the rear here, Finian.
Oh yeah, several drivers getting into each other.
The 69 of Cooper Lilly was one of the drivers that spun out there. And, whoop, there goes another cream-colored car. We're dropping like flies here, but Cooper Lilly, not a whole lot of damage to that car. He'll be good to go. But it was, I think it was Jonathan White in the 22. He got looped around there early. But let's head back out front here and catch the race up through the S's for the first time through. It's Jesse Stevens, Alessandrini, Chris Henn, Michael Borden, Robert Hartley, your top 5.
Yeah, and Stevens has got a run on White. Does he dare make the pass here? This is a very tricky section to try to do it.
Again, up through the S's, there's curbs on the left, curbs on the right. You're uphill the whole time, ringing these things through every gear they got. Not a whole lot of torque in these little motors, so they're trying to make the best of what they have. And about halfway through lap 1 right now, and so far clean up front.
Indeed, these guys are trying to settle in for the long haul here as they are in the lead pack. And again, that draft's going to come into quite a bit of effect here on this upcoming straightaway.
We're going to leave timing and scoring off until everything gets sorted out after the first lap. But Jesse Stevens in that 13, he's got a whole line of cars behind him right now.
You already see him snaking down the straightaway, just trying to break the draft just a little bit from the guys behind him. But now here's where it's going to come into play.
Look at that. It's like a freight train heading down the back straightaway here at VIR. 40 drivers that are trying to win all 11 rounds of this series. They want to lock themselves in. But here comes DJ Alessandrini down into the tight section of the course here. Does he take a look? Nope. Looks like he's going to stay in line for now.
Indeed, he's going to stay in line and keep in behind the 13.
But Jordy Fike in the 29 car, that red machine, he's got Jonathan Dcunha behind him. We talked about Dcunha, but now here's Matt Busso, the Williams eSports driver, sitting in 15th right now, and he's got 14 cars ahead of him. I'm sure he'd like to get by.
Oh, I'm definitely sure he would like to. Again, he's got a
whoa,
little bit of
he's off wide, off the racetrack, and that's going to be a long ride off in the grass. He's going to lose a few spots here, maybe down to about 20th.
Yeah, indeed, and he's lost a lot of the momentum. As you can see, a lot of drivers getting past him. And it's, again, these are very hard, like you're saying, not a lot of power in these cars, so if you lose that momentum, it's really hard to get that back.
Through turn 1, Jesse Stevens holds the lead. DJ Alessandrini sitting in 2nd. Chris Henn in 3rd, Michael Borden 4th, Robert Hartley 5th. And Hartley, one of those guys who's got an extremely high I rating. He's going to be a factor in this race at some point. He had lots of practice last night in the Grid Life Series on SYM TV. You can find that replay on our channel at www.simtvbroadcast or www.youtube.com/simtvbroadcasting. Excuse me, it's directing you to our website. That won't find you the replay.
Yeah, indeed. Here these guys come snaking through the snake. No pun intended there, but yeah, these guys currently running in single file, and I think we might see this stick for quite a while. They might try to move a position here or there.
Well, here comes the 33 car. Chris Henn, he's making a move on. Alessandrini's lost a couple spots here. Had a slow section and sitting back in 5th place now. Oh, that's not correct. That would be 3rd place. A couple drivers that reset back to the pits and are currently scored in 1st and 2nd right now because they got a little lap around. So
yeah.
That is not an accurate statement there. So we'll pull that away until the resets go away.
Yeah, but Alessandrini currently running in 3rd, and I saw Stevens get just a little bit wide there off the Votry. And now currently riding on board with Jake Hewlett as they head down the back straightaway.
Jake Hewlett, known as YT Biggs over on Twitch. Very popular Twitch streamer, and he's here tonight about 3 a.m. in UK time, and he's making the best of it right now, sitting in position number 10, working his way down the back straightaway. We'll look at the draft here, Finian. We mentioned 115 is about as much as you're going to get out of it, single file. 123 on the back straightaway in the draft.
Yeah, I can hear the car starting to tack out as he got to the end of it, hit the higher part of the gear. And you can see everyone just nice and calmly running single file.
Dakota Dickerson is one of the drivers that had reset to the pit, so he had an issue early in the going. A couple drivers dropping wheels off in the dirt, and that will spray the dirt all over the racetrack and make a slick section. So we got to keep your wheels on the tarmac. Oh wow, Travis Schwenke way off the course, and he'll get it back on, but he might lose a spot here to Hewlett, and he does. That last corner really tripping people up.
Yeah, indeed, we saw a lap earlier, a driver get off wide. I believe that was Busa. That was Matt Busa that got wide in the lap before. So, yeah, these guys got to be very careful. Some of the corners are very misleading the way they're taking them.
How about Steve Picacci in the 38 car right now, and he's working around the outside of Jordy Fike in the 29. But turn 1 is not really the place you want to be outside, but Fike runs wide. He'll drop a couple wheels off, and he turns right back in to, was that Samuel Scott? No, it was the pink machine. That was Busa in the 34 that got a whole face full of that vehicle.
Yeah, you can see a lot of damage to his car on the nose. And the 29 of Fike just trying to get that car around, and it looks like he has some suspension damage too.
So Busa got involved in that. I'm sure he's probably a little bit upset with how that went on. Let's go back and check out a replay of that turn 1 incident here. Heading down into turn 1, kind of a blind corner here, but watch this.
Yeah, he's just kind of keeping to the inside, and the 29 just comes in front of him, and nowhere for Busa to go.
So collision there early for Busa has not gone the way that he would like it, but sitting right now in 17th spot. Up for the lead here, though. Jesse Stevens still holds it. Chris Henn up to second. And Alessandrini is sitting in third.
Yeah, but he's not going to sit there for long. Was looking to make a pass on the outside of Henn.
Taking a big chunk of curb down here through Oak Tree.
And indeed, here they come through Oak Tree. Pretty much the lead pack of this race. All these guys running nose to tail here, about pretty much from first to 11. They're all within a second of each other. Or a few seconds of each other, sorry.
Head back throughout the field. Oh, got another one off track. Is that the 34 car again? Busa continues to drop spots here. I think that damage is either hurting him or he got wide again. Let's take a look. This is coming down to Oak Tree on the corner entrance. He gets down here. I think he just overcooks it into the corner and just runs out wide off into the grass again. So Busa really struggling.
Yeah, indeed. Might be some of the damage that's affected the handling of that car that he's still trying to get used to, considering he just got that damage. But yeah, not having a good day at the moment, running in 24th.
Jesse Stevens still holding the lead right now, but there's a little bit of a gap between Alessandrini and Michael Borden, who's sitting in 4th place right now. Robert Hartley behind him, and Jake Hewlett up to 7th.
And indeed, all these guys to the inside, protecting the passing lane. You see they're trying to force a pass on the outside, and here comes Jake Hewlett now with the pass.
Bringing that little motor out as much as it's got down into turn number 1 again. About 13 minutes remaining here, so 7 minutes in, and dogfights all around the racetrack.
Oh, and car wide there.
That's the 42 car. Michael Borden going to drop a couple spots.
Yeah, and up front there, saw Chris Henn was going to the outside of Jesse Stevens as they head off into turn 1.
Jonathan Dcunha had an incident as well. I think he actually, he had a pass-through penalty, I believe. And came on down pit road, and, yep, penalty for the 35 car.
Yeah, Jarrett, did Race Control say anything of what that was specifically for?
I did not hear anything in particular.
Huh. Why don't you go find out what happened to Dcunha? We'll, I'm pretty sure it was penalties. We'll display the penalty graphic, but you can go ahead and go find out what that drive-through was for. Thank you. All right, well, penalty early. I wasn't expecting to actually use that graphic today. I thought everyone would be playing along nice, but so far, a little bit of carnage out there. But Nathan Saxon in the 41. How about him running in 6th right now? Travis Schwenke in 7th. And Hewlett's up to 5th.
Yeah, Hewlett's up to 5th after making a fantastic pass heading off into 1. And then he's currently got Robert Hartley ahead of him.
And Schwenke in that blue number 16. He's going to ride along on the back straightaway in the draft. Let's take a look at how much this is worth here.
Indeed, and he's going to be trying to get up to Nathan Saxon ahead, but he's got 3 cars in tow behind him, Borden, Bresci, and Pfeiffer.
Looks like that 25 of Bresci is taking a look to the inside of Borden down into roller coaster. On the brakes, not going to have enough juice to do it, though.
Yeah, indeed, just because he was on the inside doesn't mean he was going to get the pass easy. The 42 Borden tried to close that lane off as they were under braking, so solid defense by him.
How about Paul Darling in the 55 here, Finian? Paul Darling is one of those guys that is extremely talented. We've seen him win races in the DC Region SCCA League, in Grid Life, but here tonight, running in 20th, not a great start to the night for him.
Yeah, indeed, and I'm sure that damage on the nose is definitely an indicator of how his night's going so far. I don't think it's going particularly well as much as he would have liked, so he's going to kind of have to hope for really to finish where he is, have a good finish, and then look on to race 2.
It looks like Brian Shabelski had a little bit of excursion. He's down in the pits. I think he's got damage as well. So Shabelski out.
It does look like the penalty for the 35 car was for contact on the first lap of the 22 car of Jonathan White and the 43 car of Dakota Dickerson.
Oh, man. So penalty there early. I'm trying to find the replay of Shabelski. Here it is. And take a look. This is heading down. Oh, wow. Big moment. Oh, that's not really a great angle. Let's take one more look at this. This is, again, the 12 of Brian Shabelski.
Oh, and the S's, yeah.
And this is, we were talking about, just a little bit of an overcorrection and slams into the wall. Big contact there for the 12 car. And that'll be pretty much night over for him for at least race number 1.
Yeah, indeed, tough break for him with that overcorrection. That's pretty much gonna end his race at the moment. But DJ Alessandrini currently running in 2nd, and Jesse Stevens has got a pretty comfortable lead.
Yeah, 0.8 of a second. That's not quite breaking the draft, but it's awful close to it. And he's been the class of the field so far tonight.
And notably, Chris Henn in the 33, he's fallen all the way back to 5th. So I think he went off track at some point or lost a lot of time because Hartley and Hewlett were able to get around him.
Speaking of Hartley, he is all over the back of Alessandrini and looks to the outside. He's going to have help from the 81 of Hewlett as they work their way down the back straightaway here. We're about 5 laps in, about halfway through this event. 9 minutes and 35 seconds left.
Yeah, indeed, the time is flying fast, and there you see the 0-3 is going to be the outside, Alessandrini to the inside, and who's going to give way first? Someone's got to give up in this corner.
I don't know if they're going to. A little bit of pushing, a little bit of shoving. Bump drafting down the back straightaway. Hartley edges out ahead, but the battle is now for third, and Hewlett is going to back out, let Alessandrini have the spot for now.
Oh, he's not going to back up for long. Here
Whoa.
he comes to, again, trying to bully Alessandrini out of the position, but wasn't able to get it done.
And Chris Henn wants spots back. He lost them earlier, and he wants to get up to second where he was.
And while this has all been going on, Jesse Stevens has now got a 1 second lead over Robert Hartley in second, so that battling really helped get him a little bit of a lead.
So Jesse Stevens out up front, 9/10 of a second over Robert Hartley. How about sixth place Nathan Saxon? Hasn't made a ton of noise yet, but a very solid race and sitting in a great spot behind that lead group. If anything happens to those drivers, he'll be sitting in the catbird seat.
Yeah, indeed. So, and I think he's really the key for a lot of these drivers. They see a pass from the 25 Thomas Bressy over Luke Pfeiffer. But really, I think the key for a lot of these drivers up here is to stay in that lead draft, stay with the leaders, and then that'll really open up opportunities for making passes.
I don't think this battle between Bressy and Pfeiffer is over just yet. Pass was done after a long straightaway into a corner, and I think that's another frustrating thing here, Finian. You kind of get in a draft lock with drivers. You might be quicker than the guy in front of you. You might get by him, and then he might just draft right on by in the next straightaway. So it could be frustrating.
Yeah, it could be frustrating, but it could also it would take a lot of communication. You could also try to use that to your advantage by leapfrogging each other. But again, not sure how much these guys really want to work with each other here, because again, they're all competing for that prize.
Check back in the field. Here's Will Salisbury, another carryover from the Sim Championship Racing Series. Got some damage on that car, and it's pretty significant by the looks of it. The left front fender is all torn up, and the left side door is all scraped. So he's been run into or into a wall at some point. And he started up in, or actually back in 27th, so he's up 10 spots. So a great climb forward for him so far. Again, for race number 2, no field inversion, no funny business. It'll just be all qualifying all over again, just like race 1.
Yeah, and Cam even right behind him. He's all over the back bumper of Salisbury trying to get 17.
Lots of battles going on all over the racetrack. We'll take you to another one. How about Jackson Robillard in the 10 car? Paul Darling, we mentioned his struggles earlier in this race. And Chris Potter, one of the drivers from the Grid Life series, sitting in 23rd in that 09 car behind this group. And Matthew Smith at the tail end of this battle for 21st.
Indeed, all these guys still trying to duke it out on the track. We currently got out of all the drivers that started. We still got 30 of them on the lead lap fighting for position.
And nothing's changed out front with the exception that Robert Hartley has reeled in Jesse Stevens. Stevens had a slow lap last time, about 0.2 of a second off the pace of Hartley. So that gap went from 0.9 of a second to 0.3. But now look at this battle for 21st. Bump drafting down the back straightaway, heading to roller coaster on the brakes. Who's going to win this one? Paul Darling pulls ahead. He's going to have the preferred line here, but then it's going to swap back over. Paul Darling edges ahead and will steal that spot for now.
Yeah, Robillard not able to do the crossover, so he's going to have to settle in for 21st. And again, Paul Darling right now running in 20th, and that's the last spot that awards points. And I see some tire smoke out of Piggin. Oh, and Cam Even.
Yep.
I think he's gone off the track.
Yeah, he has gone up. He is escaped back to the pits there, so won't be able to grab him. But one of the drivers that we haven't talked a whole lot about yet tonight is Ted Ho in the 68 car. Great start for him, although he does have a lot of nose damage on that vehicle. And Ted started in 26th, so 13 spots in about 15 minutes. Ain't too bad for a first race.
Yeah, definitely not. Currently running in 13th and just trying to improve. You can see up ahead, there's quite a bit of a distance to the next few cars, so he might be stuck in 13th at the moment unless something else happens.
Around Chris Potter and Jackson Robillard. These guys are still fighting for 21st. They're not giving up just yet. Paul Darling slipping away in that 20th spot, though. Christian Oss in the number 15 car is a little bit behind this group. Another carryover from the Sim Championship Racing Series. Not a fantastic start for him tonight, but again, you get a brand new chance in race number 2. Matt Busa, we mentioned his struggles earlier in the night, back to 26th in that number 34 car.
Yeah, indeed. It's been, you can see him letting on by the 22 Jack Sanchez. I think he knows that his car is in a pretty bad shape and is letting cars on by.
Well, that battle for the lead didn't get any less exciting here, Fenny. Look at the top 5. Actually, is that 6 cars? 6 cars. You can throw a blanket over them. 6 cars within 1.6 seconds. And they're making their way down the back straightaway, and Hartley has caught Jesse Stevens. I think Stevens thought he got away with it for a second, but not so sure about that.
Yeah, in that top 6, it's Stevens, Hartley, Alessandrini, Hewlett,
Henn, here he comes Saxon. To the inside. He's going to make this pass, heading down into roller coaster. But he's going to get out-braked by Stevens into that corner, and he'll have to back off for now.
Yeah, aggressive, really defensive driving, great defensive driving from the 13 to Stevens to get Hartley to back off. But here they come now through the last few corners and up to turn 1. This is going to be another passing opportunity. Very popular with a lot of drivers.
Big curb jumps there in the final corner, and they're going to make their way down the front straightaway again, go through the gears all the way up to the top of 5th. And they're going to get in line and protect that inside lane. You want to be defensive here as much as you can.
Yeah, indeed. So, and there you see now he's Hartley going to try to make the pass now to the outside. He's going to have to try to outbrake the 13. It's going to be a tall order to do.
Down in the braking zone. It looks like he's going to do it, but the problem is that 13 car is going to get to go the short way around through turn number 1.
If he can stay there, he's going to have a shot. No, it looks like 13 choked his momentum on the exit, and I think Hartley might have him here.
And he does. Robert Hartley in the 0-3 to the lead here on lap number 8. Got about 3 laps to go, two to go when we get next lap around. About 4 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, I saw Alessandrini. He looked like he wanted second place there, but wasn't able to get on the inside of the 13, so he's going to have to wait on that from Stevens. But yeah, now let's see what Hartley can do up in the lead.
Yeah, we'll see if he can run away. I mean, he caught Jesse Stevens from about a second back, but we know how quick Stevens is, and draft is easily worth a second around this racetrack. And look at him all over the back bumper of Hartley through the S's here.
Yeah, giving him a little bit of bump draft here as they head off into the S's. And you can see that these guys are playing with inches with each other.
People always say that they like driving GT3 cars and, you know, GTE cars and prototypes. These cars, MX-5s, are one of the best race cars around. It's way more fun to me to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow, and right now, these guys are putting on a heck of a show with these NC Miatas.
Indeed, and as they head off into Oak Tree and off onto the back straightaway, we'll see now.
Oh, missed the gear.
Yeah, missed his shift, and Alessandrini's going to head around him. Actually got a little bit of damage. And that was a big mistake from the 13 of Jesse Stevens, as he's going to pay the price for it.
These cars are 6-speed H-pattern gearboxes. You got to clutch on the upshifts, and I think he just missed it by an inch there, and it's going to cost him big time.
Behind them, Chris Henn and Nick Saxon fighting for 4th place there.
It looks like Ted Ho has had an incident back in 30th place. If you could do me a favor, Jared, if you could go back and find out what happened to Ted Ho, that'd be really appreciated. We seem to have missed that while watching the battle for the lead. Nathan Saxon is up to 5th. I mentioned that he could catch this group, and he has.
Indeed, he's looking really racy in that 41 car, and it looks like he might try to make a pass here on Chris Henn up to turn 1.
And using that draft, Chris Henn up to 4th. So Stevens dropped from 1st to 5th, or 6th, in about the span of a lap and a half. So mistakes made for the pole sitter and leader. But Finian, 2 laps to go here, about 2 minutes and 9 seconds remaining in this race. Getting awful close to the end here.
Yeah, indeed we are. It's getting down to the end of it here, and we'll see now what does Alessandrini have to do to try to get around Hartley.
And look at the lighting, Finian. A cloud has come over this racetrack, and that means that the track temp is going to fall for this final lap, and it's going to be a significant enough change for these drivers to feel. Alessandrini slipped a little bit there in turn 3. Hartley pulls away just a little bit. But now with those clouds over the racetrack, it's going to make things a little bit different out there grip level-wise.
Yeah, indeed. You guys are going to have a little bit more grip than they had for most of this race as the track starts to cool down with the cloud cover over. So these guys might be able to use it to their advantage, and they might even get even more racy than they otherwise would have.
Scrambling up and over the curbs through the S's for the second to last time in race number 1 in round 1 here at Virginia International Raceway. Up through the S's again, top of 5th gear as we climb the hill.
See Hartley, Alessandrini, Hewlett, Henn, Saxon, Stevens, your top 6, and one of the main guys in this fight for the lead.
Saxon, got a great race for him. Started in 8th up to 5th, so a very slow, steady progress for him, and jumps up over the curbs into Oak Tree Corner. He'll try to set up a pass on Chris Henn into Roller Coaster. We'll see if he can do it, but he's got Stevens and Travis Schwenke behind him.
Yeah, Schwenke's also caught up and joined these guys, and now pretty much a top 7 pack, but they see up ahead. Hartley has a little bit of a lead to Alessandrini, about half a second, so Alessandrini's going to have to make that up as these guys are going to come down to get the white flag.
One more time up this back straightaway. Now you have to start thinking defense here, Finian. Robert Hartley is going to be under attack here in this final lap, and Alessandrini last night in the Grid Life Series got beat by the leader backing him up coming to the checkers, so we'll see if he tries to do the same or try to avoid Hartley backing him up. So it's going to be a strategic race. It's a chess match at 120 miles an hour. We're about to see how it's all going to sort out for race number 1 here. 2 laps to go, coming to the white flag for Robert Hartley in that 0-3. Started back in the 5th spot, has climbed his way up to 1st, and the white flag's going to wave one more time around here as they get back to the start-finish line.
There you see Hartley swerving back and forth, trying to get break the draft from the 91 car. It seems to be working for him at the moment.
It was awful close to not finishing their finishing right on this lap. They came to the start-finish line with 3 seconds left. Had that ticked over to 0, would have been the finish of the race. So one more lap, white flag in the air, and now that top 6 car, anybody in that top 6 group is capable of winning this race if they plan this out right.
Indeed, and if any of the drivers up ahead make a mistake, and this is where their heart starts beating fast with a lot of these guys, one mistake can take them out of this fight.
And Jake Hewlett, how about YT Biggs in the 81, sitting in 3rd place right now? Where did he come from? He was just kind of hanging out in 7th for most of the race, now in a position to win.
Yeah, he's made some really good passes, put himself in a pretty solid position, although he's got to get around 2 cars now with half a lap to go to try to win this thing.
And what if these front 2 get together? It's not like it's unlikely here, Finian. There's going to be a pass attempt. The question is, where is it on the racetrack, and how much does Alessandrini send it into a corner to get an advantage on Robert Hartley? And Jake Hewlett is sitting in the perfect spot to have an advantage if they get together. On the brakes through the kink. Look at Alessandrini sticking the nose out to the inside, taking a look. Does he have anything for Robert Hartley in the last couple corners?
Oh, he looks to the inside of Oak Tree. This is going to be the big corner. These guys got to set up a nice run to the back straightaway. This is going to be the final shot for it.
Here we go. Last back straightaway. Alessandrini, Hewlett, and Hartley on the front 3. And look at that. Hartley's going to move all the way to the left, now back to the right, trying to break the draft and keep those 2 behind him.
Yeah, indeed. He's doing everything he can. He's pretty much a sitting duck. He's got to try to take a defensive line, although I don't think Alessandrini's going to get to him.
He might have an opportunity here at the end of the straightaway here, Finian, building a run. Here he comes. Does he look to the inside? Does he look to the outside? Does Hartley block? He's going to stay in line. Alessandrini takes a look, but won't be able to get the nose in there. Now through roller coaster, crosses him over, jumps the curb. Look at Hewlett bouncing over the curbing.
Oh, Hewlett off the track just a little bit. He's gone a little bit wide, but yeah, Alessandrini, I think he's out of chances here, and Hartley looks like he's going to take it.
One more corner left to decide the first race of 2 tonight out of the final corner, turn 17. Robert Hartley is leading Alessandrini, but it's not over yet. It's going to be a drag race to the finish line. Does he get there in time? I don't think he's going to make it. Robert Hartley in the 0-3, side by side. Hartley gets it by a tiny, tiny margin. 6/600ths of a second.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a draft there on the straightaway, but it wasn't enough. Tough break for Alessandrini, but he'll finish in 2nd. Jake Hewlett 3rd. Chris Hen 4th. Nathan Saxon in 5th. Jesse Stevens in 6th. And Travis Schwenke rounding out your top 7 in that pack.
Coming on back, there's Jonathan Dcunha in the 35, coming home 14th after a pretty decent first race. A little bit of, not actually a scratch on that car, so a good night for him. Paul Darling in the 55 comes home 15th. But Finian, how about that finish margin? 60 thousandths of a second. That is insane.
Yeah, indeed. We'll try to take a look at try to take a replay of that. Let's try to run on board maybe with Alessandrini as they came to the line.
I think that's a great idea. And Alessandrini set this up. I think he knew there was enough draft that he could make it work in the final corner. Let's take a look. Man, this is so frustrating. You got that pedal slammed to the floor. And that start-finish line right where that red box is, up to the line. Man, about half a car length. And these things are not very long.
No, yeah, they are. And so, yeah, just a half a car. He was short by half a car length. So, unfortunate for him. He's going to have to settle in for 2nd, but I think definitely it could have been a lot worse for him in race 1.
All right, so checkered flag flies for race number 1 here at Virginia International Raceway. And let's take a look at your results. It was Robert Hartley. That's not showing the correct numbers there, but Hartley in the 0-3 comes out on top. And DJ Alessandrini in 2nd, Hewlett 3rd, Chris Hen 4th, Saxon 5th, and the rest of the drivers scroll on through. I got to fix that for race number 2. That was working correctly before. I think maybe the 2-race format was messing with that, but maybe we'll do it a different way here. Scrolling across the top of your screen. And again, we're going to take a break here in a minute. We'll grab you some interviews, but the top 3 for sure we're going to talk to, and maybe Jesse Stevens in the 13 as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back live to Winding Road Magazine and SYM TV. We're here with third place finisher Jake Hewlett in the 81, known as YT Biggs on YouTube. A podium finish for you in race number 1. Walk us through those closing laps and how you're going to try to set up those front 2 for a pass.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the space to get into second, really, to set up on Robert. But of course, I didn't want to push too hard and cause us to lose the draft. Obviously, we had everybody attacking from behind as well. So it was just a case of being patient, you know, getting a feel for things, a feel for the car. And I was planning for the run down the back straight. That was the...
Also, I want to ask you one more thing. For race number 2, if you're in the same position again, how would you change your last lap? Would you do anything different, or would you keep doing what you were doing?
It depends on the driver, I think. Obviously, everybody has their driving style for sure. And I think that was the safe bet. You know, consistency is key, and bringing home the finish and making sure you don't actually ruin everybody else's race, you know. So... maybe be a little more aggressive, try to force a mistake out of the guy in second so that I can move up into, you know, possibly pushing for the pole position.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Jake, and good luck in race number 2. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Carl.
All right. And now we're going to talk to second place driver DJ Alessandrini. DJ, you missed it by an inch there, and that's par for the course. As last night, that's kind of the same thing happened, but you missed this time by even a closer margin, 60 thousandths of a second. Walk us through that last lap.
Yeah, Hartley's really good, as it turns out, but everybody already knew that. Man, it just seems like it was battle of who could keep the car in gear out there. Jesse had great pace, so I expect to be in the front with him again next race. He just couldn't get it into third. I was having issues. The car, I'm just driving along, it's in 5th gear, it just pops into neutral. So that's a new thing to deal with. I've never had to do that before. And Hartley had minimal gear issues, so he wins.
All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing you do race number 2. We'll see you later, DJ.
All right, thanks.
All right, the last driver we'll talk to is going to be Robert Hartley, driver of the number 03. Robert, that was some intense racing. That last lap, extremely close. What'd you do to keep DJ behind you?
I really didn't know what to do. I was glad I got a decent run out of the oak tree there. So I was able to work it down that straightaway and kind of keep my lead going into the last set of corners there. It just worked out. Everybody else had small mistakes, and I was able to hit all the gears and make the passes when I need to.
All right, well, we're going to let you get over to race number 2. Good luck out there, Robert. Thanks for talking to us. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, so that will wrap up the interviews here. So in just a moment, we're going to go to break one more time, and we'll come back to you in just a couple minutes for race number 2. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
Coming for a splash. Three, two, one, now. All clear, punch it. Great job, you did really well.
Welcome back to Winding Road Magazine and Sim TV for race number 2 in round 1 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. We talked to the podium finishers of the last race that were Robert Hartley, DJ Alessandrini, and Jake Hewlett. We'll see how they stack up for race number 2. Right now, qualifying underway for the second race here, Finian, and we're going to just do it all over again like we did for race number 1, except this time a 30-minute race instead of 20.
Yeah, indeed. Now Nathan Saxon's up on top of the charts, followed by Jonathan White and then Jesse Stevens, your top 3. And Paul Darling also putting on a pretty good time in 4th.
And let's see, I should have worked out the results issue that I was having before. I did, okay, so great. We're just getting all the bugs worked out here in the first event, so we'll have that for the end of the race. Nathan Saxon, again, sitting on top right now. Jonathan White in the 22 in 2nd. Stevens 3rd. Darling 4th. Bressy back in 5th. How about Dcunha 15th in race 1, sitting in 16th, qualified right now for race 2. Very consistent, at least.
Yeah, definitely consistent. I'm sure he hopes that he can be more consistent up towards the front of the field, so he's going to have to do a little bit of work to try to maybe get in another time. He's got another time to put down another lap, but it's currently back in midfield.
All right, so again, I mentioned a minute ago that it's a 30-minute race for race number 2, and we had 20 minutes in race number 1. The other advantage these guys are going to have is they're going to get another 2 incident points that they can use up. And I don't think we had anybody that went over that limit, but it's possible that we did. So we'll have to check that post-race. But so far, everyone seems to be playing along pretty nice. A few incidents in the first race, but for the most part up front, very, very clean racing.
Yeah, and just in general, I mean, really clean racing. You're going to see those turn 1 incidents because, I mean, these cars are so small, so tight together. We saw 4 wide going to turn 1. Something's going to happen. But a few bumps and scrapes. No one really, no real too crazy incidents where half the field's taken out. So that was nice to see from a lot of these drivers.
I do know one guy that wants a do-over is Cooper Lilly in the 69. Spun out in the first corner and didn't have a very good finish as a result of that. So Lilly looking to have a little bit better night in race number 2.
And add him onto the list along with Jesse Stevens, who was leading the race, fell back to 2nd, and then missed that shift that put him back all the way and ended up finishing 6th in race number 1. Is currently qualified in 5th, so hoping to do a little bit better in this race, potentially move up a few positions.
I will say though, guys, Ted Ho, he would like a do-over as well, as he actually did reach that penalty limit and got 15x in that last race, and that's why he did not finish.
Oh man, so that's Ted Ho looking to have a better race number 2 in that 68 car, sitting in 9th right now. It had a good race going for him at the beginning of the night and didn't end up having a great finish, so he'll try again in race number 2 in that bright red livery. Anyway, other drivers to talk about. Matt Busa, one of those guys that had an incident the first couple laps and looking for a do-over.
Yeah, he's also, again, was having a pretty solid race and then found a few incidents where he got significant damage to his car, and that put him all the way back in the 20s. I don't think he finished in the top 20 to score points, so he's going to look to turn that around as soon as he can.
We're on board with Busa here for a moment as they work their way through the kink. Again, a very high-speed section. Saw a couple cars go wide here, but I think we saw a lot of guys go really wide at the last corner, which isn't something I expected. Typically, you see a lot in the first corner because it's so tight, but the last corner is pretty wide open. I think drivers just trying to hold that throttle down.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think because it's so wide open on exit, I think it's really inviting for these drivers to think, I could put the pedal to the metal. Unfortunately, they can't do that, and we've seen quite a few drivers go wide, and I think, hopefully, for their sake, I hope that they probably learn from that as the race went on, for this race especially, that they can't do that, and they got to be just a little bit careful on the throttle when they're coming on the final corner.
All right, the best time in this session, a 2:11.124, set by Travis Schwenke in the number 16. And let's take a look at our conditions here as well, Finian. 65 degrees in the air, hotter this time, 107 on the track. That is pretty toasty out there.
Indeed it is, and it probably will only go up from here on out. We'll check the track temperature again once we get into the actual race session. So as us qualifying is just about to end here, and the final few drivers are going to come across the line and finish out their laps.
Checkered flag flies, and they'll get a couple minutes to conclude their laps if they're on one. None of these drivers will get to go again.
Yeah, and one of those drivers is Nathan Saxon. He's currently in second. Second is Travis Schwenke. He's going to be on top of the charts.
And Robert Hartley sitting in 3rd. Alessandrini 4th. Darling and back in 6th. There's Matthew Smith, who is quietly hanging out inside the top 15, or top 20 at least, in that number 32 car, and he'll get a do-over here as well. So sitting 16th for him right now. Jumps the curb in the final corner. This will conclude his qualifying effort.
A few seconds about Travis Schwenke, the current pole sitter. He's from Springboro, Ohio. He has experience in club and regional racing, SCCA, NASA, AEO, BMW, the typical stuff. And he is sponsored by BSI Racing. BSI Racing have a very impressive SPEC Miata warehouse in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Well, thank you for that little tidbit there, Jarrett. And the checkered flag has flown, and we now have 2 minutes left to wait until we can start this race. And Florence Arabian right now out on the racetrack in the 44 car. That's a bright orange livery. Didn't see a whole lot of him out of race number 1, so we'll see if he can do any better in race number 2. And again, if you're just joining us, my name is Kyle Heyer alongside Finian Dcunha and Jarrett Maki here. You can find our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/SYM TV broadcasting to see more of this kind of thing on almost a daily basis in the month of March, which is coming up here in just a little bit, working with all sorts of fantastic leagues like the Sim Championship Racing Series, Fuel, let's say Outsider, VRL, the WDCR, SCCA, and Grid Life. And I think, am I missing any? I think that covers pretty much all of them. You can visit our website at www.simtvbroadcasting.com to learn more about us. And we want to give a special thank you to Winding Road Magazine, Winding Road Racing, and really all their staff and team for being so kind and letting us use their YouTube channel for this whole operation. And they trusted us with a great amount, and we really, really appreciate that. And again, all the sponsors that are scrolling at the top right of your screen, a huge thank you to them as well. Winding Road Racing, Ricmotech High Performance Sim Racing Equipment. You can find their links in the description, as well as LevelUp Racing School, which is throwing up one of the season end prizes for the season champion. So again, all those links you can find in the description. There's a whole book I wrote down there, so go ahead and check that out. And again, we want to thank Matthews Imports of Binghamton for allowing us to use that 2018 MX-5 for our video intro that we played at the top of the broadcast. Let's see, am I missing anybody else? Night Fox Designs for the SPEC MX-5 livery, and that is also in the video description. I think that covers pretty much everybody.
Yeah. I think so, too.
I think Mom and Dad, and that's a Scott Pruitt comment there. I love you, Scott. He always said hi to my family at home. That was his thing.
Yeah, he did.
Hi to my family at home. That. But no, this has been an exciting race so far. The difference between first and second in the first race after 20 minutes of racing was 60 thousandths of a second, and I expect to see a margin just as close in race number 2.
Yeah, definitely so, especially now these guys have got a few laps under their belt in racing conditions, because, you know, it's different from practice when you're mostly by yourself, a few cars here and there, but when you're in a race and you're in that draft, and you kind of feel how the cars affects and the effect of the draft, I think these guys got a little bit more experience to work with now going into this final race.
And if you're interested in joining the iRacing platform, this whole thing is done using the iRacing Motorsport Simulation software. And you can find the link to iRacing in the description. And that is www.iracing.com to sign up. I think they have a promo right now for new members. It's pretty inexpensive to try out for a 3-month subscription. And you get this car with the base level subscription, and also the newer 2016 spec Global MX-5 that is also free to new members. There is quite a few tracks now where they just added the brand new Charlotte Roval as base content, as well as Tsukuba based out of Japan, and a couple other great racetracks they've added recently. Michigan International Speedway from 2014, that track has just been added as free content. The NASCAR COT and the NASCAR Chevrolet SS Gen 6, also new content, so lots available for new players. www.iracing.com to learn more.
Yeah, indeed. And getting ready for race 2 as we're waiting for the last few drivers to grid up. I also just wanted to mention, probably should have mentioned this earlier, but winner of each individual race, the 22 that we have for the 11 rounds, will get a $25 thanks to Ricmotech.
That's what it was, yeah.
So they get a $25 gift card, so that went to
Hartley,
there you go. Trying to still get used to the names. A lot of drivers to go through.
That's the one thing is this is keep in mind this is our first broadcast, not only with this group of drivers, but also with this graphics package and overlay. That's why we had the issue with the session results not showing up correctly. So just kind of work out the bugs, and our next race in the end of March will be probably a little bit more polished in that regard. So we'll learn everybody's names, get all the pronunciations down, and hopefully that'll be all set and good by our second round. And I believe that's at Circuit of the Americas, which is the home track for SPEC MX-5 and Winding Road.
I have listed Summit Point, but
no. So it's probably Summit Point. Well, Summit Point is a home track for the DC region SCCA, which works with us on the Wednesday nights that SPEC MX-5 is not with us. So they put on some fantastic racing, multi-class with the Kia Optima TCR car, the Ford Mustang FR500S, and the MX-5. Some great racing. Those guys put on Wednesday nights, typically on our channel on SYM TV. And again, a lot of the guys that we mentioned, a lot of the names that we know, you can see them race in the other series on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SYM TV broadcasting. Give us a subscribe. Give this channel a subscribe, because you're going to see much more of this, as well as the typical content that you see out of Winding Road Magazine, some spectacular ride-alongs and reviews of some of the coolest new cars out there. I especially love their in-ear microphone videos, Finian, when you get to really, you put headphones on, it's like we were sitting in the car. It's absolutely phenomenal. So, all right, well, field is rolling off here, Finian, so I guess we would be silly not to list off who is going to be starting on the front couple rows, and here is your grid for the second race tonight, and it's going to be Travis Schwenke in the 16 car on pole, Saxton second, Stevens third, Hartley fourth, and there's the rest of it scrolling across the screen. Busa in 12th, he'll get a new chance on life here in race number 2.
Andy Paul Darling and starting in 7th, and Cooper Lilly will be starting in 9th, so those guys will be starting up a lot further up than when they started in race number 1.
And I believe we are going to be missing John Allen. I don't think John Allen even started race number 1, so we only have one pro driver. Chris Henn in the 33 car didn't grid here, Finn. Either he missed the grid or is not planning on racing, but he is not here at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully we can see him get on the track. We were very unfortunate not to have him after he had a pretty solid finish in the last race.
I think he was 4th, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Chris Henn has disconnected from the session.
Oh man, so must not have been able to make race number 2, which is a real shame because he was very competitive, but don't worry, there's plenty of competitive racers still out there. And guys, that first race was spectacular. But Jarrett, race number 2, is this a different strategy? Is race number 1, I mean, it's 10 minutes longer, so how do you adjust your strat moving forward here?
I think the main strategy here is going to be to win. I don't think it wasn't in the first race, per se, but this race, 10 minutes longer. You know, you have more time to sit there and be more patient, but I don't know if those drivers will do that here today.
Yeah, especially because after race 2, there's money on the line for the total event. So this is accounting for the driver's total points in race 1 and race 2. So the winner of the event will get $100, second place will get $50, and third place will get $25. So money is on the line for these guys, and I'm sure a lot of them don't want to let that go away. So they're going to be fighting for it.
We're gonna see it on the line here in a second. These guys are going to race extremely hard. I think they know what prizes are on the line. They're going to go for it. And again, really the goal here, though, Finian, the end of the year prize is each one valued at over $4,000 US. And again, if you're interested and want to learn more about SPEC MX-5 or the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge, there is a link in the description to an FAQ about everything. And again, the whole point of this is to kind of draft drivers up to the MX-5 SPEC MX-5 Challenge. And I think it's a really cool opportunity to get some of these guys seat time in a real race car at Circuit of the Americas at the end of the year. So we're following the schedule, we're following the style of car, and we're following the format. And tonight, it's put on a great race so far. And this race, about 14 laps, a little bit longer than race number 1.
Indeed, those extra 10 minutes, you should be able to go about another 4 laps over time. So these guys are going to have a little bit more laps to work with and a lot more time to sort each other out for the race win here at the end.
Track temp has fallen a little bit since the conclusion of qualifying, down to 101. A cloud has come over the racetrack and will cool it farther. You see it tick down to just over 100 degrees. And it'll continue to fall as we get ready for race number 2. Coming out of the final corner, turn number 17 here at VIR. We're going to leave the field in the hands of Travis Schwenke in the number 16 car, that dark blue car on the left-hand side of your screen. And looks like we're coming to the green flag this time through. Get the field all bunched up.
Pace car is in.
And green flag in the air for race number 2. 30 minutes on the board here at the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge.
And for the most part, it seems like a lot more organized of a start compared to race number 1 as they race off side by side into turn 1. Oh, and up the middle, Stevens was thinking about it.
Thought about it, didn't quite make the look though. The 68 car is on the inside. That's Ted Ho. Almost got into somebody back there, but looks like they're going to make it work 3 wide. And look at that. All these race cars, 40 MX-5s working their way through turn 1. Not a single scrape through that section. Absolutely phenomenal driving by everybody involved. And it looks like Schwenke holds the lead here through turns 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I saw Jonathan White made a fantastic move up the inside past a few drivers as they headed off from turn 1. He's currently running in second, so solid job by him.
And slow is the way to go with the opening lap here in race number 2. Everyone's kind of taking their time here. They know what's on the line, and it's a little longer race, so you don't have to rush quite as much. There is the 36 car of Thomas Pendergrass trying to get by the 30 of Jimmy Hume and trying to make it work, but behind him, there is Jackson Robillard in the 10 car. All over the rear bumper. But let's head back up to second place. Jonathan White trying to hold off Jesse Stevens as they work their way through the S's.
And they're tight on each other's bumpers here in this opening lap as they try to all chase down Travis Schwenke, who's taking the lead.
Nathan Saxon sitting in 4th. Had a very calm, cool, and collected race number 1. And trying to improve on that up and over the curbs through Oak Tree for the first time. And this is where we typically see things get a little bit wild. We'll sit on here the static camera as the field strolls on through. 40 MX-5s working their way around.
Yeah, very organized start, all things considered. I don't think we have seen anyone
no incidents.
Yeah, everyone's car is clean and ready to go for this race.
So Travis Schwenke continues to lead in that number 16 car. Down the back straightaway.
And here he comes up to the inside. Jesse Stevens trying to make a pass.
And Stevens hard on the brakes, will pull across the nose of that 22 of Jonathan White and will take the spot away. And White has Saxon over his rear bumper now. How about Paul Darling, the number 55, starting a lot closer to the front this time through. And that number 55 car sitting in 9th right now and a little bit closer to the front. A little bit better of an opportunity to win this race.
Indeed. So as these guys come across the line to complete lap 1, they're all fairly sorted out. As there are a lot of them as they were running in race number 1.
How about Matt Musa in 10th right now? Going to get another chance to do well, sitting in 9th place right now.
Oh, up for the lead. It looks like there's a fight between Schwenke and Stevens. And Schwenke's going to hold on to it. Stevens in behind. White, Saxon, Borden, your top 5.
And Robert Hartley, the race 1 winner, sitting in 6th right now, right behind that 42 of Borden. Look at Nathan Saxon. He's all over Jonathan White for that 3rd spot. Can he get to the inside here? A couple left-handers coming up. Wasn't able to do it this time.
Yeah, wasn't able to do it in turn 3. He's going to have to kind of hope for the best in the next part of the track. But you're going to see the top 10, top 12 cars starting to break away from the rest of the field. Pretty much similar to what we saw in race 1.
Right on board the gyro cam up through the S's. You see how rough this is, riding on board with Nathan Saxon from Rhode Island. And up through the S's we go, and you can see how violent this is for the driver inside the cockpit, bouncing up and over the curbs.
Yeah, if we could hear the engine, you can hear these guys are on throttle through this entire section.
Little dab of the brakes over to the left, up over the curbs, and heading down to Oak Tree. We'll see, he goes from 5th gear down to 4th, takes 3rd, and down to 2nd gear for this corner, up over the curb and back onto the back straightaway where he'll draft Jonathan White.
Oh,
whoa! 42 car, that's Borden.
42 of Borden. He's going to spin it off to the inside. Looks like he doesn't have any actually, he does have some damage to the rear of that car.
Oh, did he get some help? Let's go back and quickly take a look. Oh, there was a stack up here. Let's take a look. And was it the 03? It was Robert Hartley, I think.
Oh, a race winner from
the 42
1.
Slipped first, I think, and that's what got Hartley involved there. Let's look on board from Hartley's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, also, these guys are in very close quarters here, so one little,
Yeah, nothing that Hartley could have done to miss that.
Fortunate for a race 1 winner, he's got some damage to the nose of his car, so we'll see how he's going to deal with that at the moment, but that's allowed the top 4 to get on a little bit of a breakaway bout for 1 second. There's a car up.
Ted Ho in the 68. He had trouble in race number 1, and it looks like it's going to be the same for race number 2. Let's see how this started. He was behind the 55 of Paul Darling. Dabs on the brakes. This is the roller coaster here.
Oh, yeah, and it looks like he had a little help there from that black car. I wasn't sure who that was.
Get one more look at it here. 05, maybe?
They have a white number.
06 of Luke Pfeiffer, potentially,
yeah,
yes.
It was Pfeiffer.
Or was it? It was Pfeiffer.
Okay.
All right, well, up for the lead here. We have had a pass for position. Jesse Stevens has gotten around Schwenke and is beginning to pull away just a little bit. And remember, Stevens led a lot of the race number 1, but didn't end up winning that race after he missed a shift heading onto the back straightaway. So one little mistake can take you out of it. We'll see if he can avoid making that mistake again.
Oh, I'm sure he's definitely going to make sure that he doesn't miss a shift here. Pretty much took him out of contention from that win, but now he's got at least on life here, back up in the lead.
And Dakota Dickerson is also out of the race, the only pro driver in the field for race number 2, so he's had trouble in both races tonight.
There was an incident coming out of Oak Tree between the 42 car of Michael Borden and the 03 car by Robert R. Hartley. That incident is currently under review by race officials.
All right, so that is under review, and I would be surprised if they penalize the 03 for that, but well, I guess we'll see how the race admin takes a look at that. Anyway, Jay Ruscher in the 11 car has an incident. He's in the pits. Let's take a look.
Oh, yeah, that car was damaged a lot before he peeled off the track.
And we'll see if this isn't a weird part of the racetrack to have an incident. Oh, and there goes the engine on that car, and that was, he must have had some radiator damage or something that led to that car blowing up on him. So Jay Ruscher out of the race in that number 11.
And as we look, here comes Travis Schwenke. He's got a big run on Stevens. Now, where does he go with it? Stevens in the middle of the track.
And this front 4 is really tight together. You get that accordion effect heading into the braking zones here, Finian. You got to be real careful not to get into the guy in front of you.
These guys are still all close together with each other, running nose to tail.
Stevens dropped a wheel off there and dragged some dirt on course, and you have to keep in mind that every time you drop a wheel off and drag some dirt on, the next time you come through there, it's going to be covered in dirt. And that makes the wheels very, very slippery. You don't want to get yourself a whole lot of dirt on the racetrack. It's not very fun.
Especially several drivers are doing it too. That'll just put quite a bit of dirt on the track. And then, yeah, like you said, you can make it really, really slippery in the braking zones.
All right, down into turn number 1, Stevens and Schwenke, but there's Jonathan White taking a look to the inside of Schwenke. Gets a nose inside. Can he hold it, though? Ooh. Really tight there for a second.
Yeah, Schwenke got into the back of Stevens. Just a little bit of a tap here, but yeah, he's under attack by Jonathan White, who's going to be on the outside heading up into turn 3.
And he's going to get shuffled back out, and to the inside comes Nathan Saxon, the 41. Opportunistic move. He's going to take that spot away. Power move for the 41 of Saxon.
Yeah, he's going to have the preferred line in this corner, and he's going to be able to get ahead of White, but right behind White is Robert Hartley.
Oh, you got Steve Ficacci off course. Driver of the 51 car, and I think he's gone for a little bit of a loop. This was an interesting situation.
Yeah, got involved with the 32 car there. That's Matthew Smith in the 32.
Oh, they just kind of came together. I think they were looking at the same part of the racetrack, and whoop, just a slight tap into the arm coat. Shouldn't damage his car too much, but I'm sure that'll be another incident that might potentially be under review, so we'll keep an eye on that. Anyway, battle for third continues. Nathan Saxon's gotten it away from Jonathan White, but they've lost a little bit of ground to Stevens and Schwenke just up the road.
Yes, and Nat Saxon just ahead of White and Hartley, who are duking out for position. Alessandrini, who is finished in second last race, he's currently running in 6th.
And Matt Busa in the 34 car, the Williams Esports driver, he's in this front group in 7th place right now in that bright magenta 34 car in front of the yellow machine of Paul Darling.
Yeah, indeed. In the top 8 pretty much all found each other up here, and they're 2.5 seconds ahead of 9th place. So they're all in their own little group fighting for position. I think it might stay like this for most of the race.
And we tend to see this a lot with the MX-5 race cars here, Finian. They just kind of get a lead group together of drivers with a similar skill level, and we've seen that in race 1 and race 2, but I think it thins out over the course of the race. And now we're just getting down to the time that we had for race number 1, so the strategy's beginning to play out here a little bit. We'll see how drivers attack this. Again, it's like a chess match. It's not difficult to place your car at a specific spot with that draft, so you just got to figure out where you want to slot in line to have a shot at the win.
Yeah, indeed. So, and I think these guys got to keep track of that. And this is also a good time considering we have those extra 10 minutes. We're only just about over 20 minutes through this race.
Chris Potter in the 09 car out. Oh, engine blown for him too. And you know what I think that was?
Shift.
A downshift a little early there. It probably blew the motor on that 09. So transmission damage will take out the 09. We'll head back up to the front.
Indeed. So that's another thing these guys got to keep track of. Not only when they're battling inches off each other, they got to make sure they hit their shifts right. Otherwise, you can have a blown motor like that, and it's really easy to do. So they got to be on the top of their game.
Head back to some other battles throughout the field. Cooper Lilly in the 69 car, and whoop, a little bit wide.
Yeah.
We lose a bunch of spots here, and it's so difficult to get your car back on course. And you don't want to make the mistake that one of the drivers made in turn 1. Yeah, that'll be it for him. Will Salisbury in the 70, and one of the Scars drivers sitting in 20th alongside Steve Ficacci. So these drivers right at home with the drivers around them.
Yeah, fighting for the last points paying position in 20th are both those guys. So not the first time they found each other on the track, and like I said, both raced in the Scars Ferrari Championship.
Ooh, big curb hop there for the 13. Go ahead, Jarrett.
The previously mentioned incident that was under review between the 42 car and the 03 car coming out of Oak Tree has been reviewed. No action will be taken, so just a racing incident.
All right, thanks a lot, Jarrett, and I agree with that call. And here comes the inside. The 22 of Jonathan White aggressively back to the inside of Nathan Saxon.
He's not cleared just yet. They're going to be still side by side with each other as they head down the back straight. It looks like the 41's hitting his shifts just a little bit better, hiking ahead of the 22.
Yeah, again, these cars don't have a whole lot of torque, so it's not easy to overcome the mistakes. No wheel spin in these things, essentially. And it's the drag race down the back straightaway up to 115, almost 120 miles an hour, then hard on the binders down into the roller coaster section.
And you can see with the draft too, Robert Hartley closing ever so closely into that picture. But Saxon's going to get the position ahead of Jonathan White. Oh, and Alessandrini looks like he's peeling off the line. And he's got Matt Busa to his outside.
Yeah, and it looks like Alessandrini's going to take that spot away from Busa, and we'll clear him. Paul Darling sitting in right behind. And just behind this group, Jake Hewlett finished 3rd in race number 1, right now 10th in that 81 car.
Yeah, he's having a very quiet day. Currently in 10th. He's a little bit too far compared to that pack ahead of him. And now looking at the 98 of Samuel Scott running in 16th.
Samuel Scott, James Stacey, and Noah Wilson in this battle for 16th place right now. These are points-paying positions. Those guys racing pretty hard with each other. And the drivers had a rough start to race 1 and race 2. Ted Ho and Steve Ficacci right side by side right now, 23rd and 24th, right nose to tail, trying to recover from their race 2 incidents early in the going. Stevens and Schwenke continue to lead. Saxon, White, Hartley, the rest of your top 5.
And this is not over yet. This is far from over. We're still have over half the race yet to go. And what I was saying earlier is that these guys can really take this time to try to figure out the drivers around them, how they drive, where their braking points are, and kind of use that information against them.
Robert Hartley from South Carolina right now, right on the rear bumper of Jonathan White. These cars very similar in appearance, both cream-colored liveries on that car. Last lap for Hartley, a 2:12.0. A best lap of a 2:10.3. That's very, very quick in these NC generation Miatas. We saw some 2:07s last night with the ND generation, so a little bit quicker for that car. But again, to eke out a 2:10 with this machine, pretty dang good.
Yeah, indeed. So as you see everyone heading off down towards Oak Tree.
And getting down from 5th gear down to 3rd, and then one more down to 2nd.
Wow, so Schwinky caught that really close to the tire barriers there, using up as much of the track as he could.
Down the back straightaway now, and that front group still close together, but how about we head back in the field a little bit farther? Ted Ho and Steve Focacci, those guys not too far apart from each other, and both these cars relatively okay on damage. I think Focacci's got that left front knocked in just a hair. Drops the wheel off course at the exit of Oak Tree, but will get back on without much trouble. I think Jack Sanchez is wide, and yes, he is. That 23, the creamsicle-colored car, getting back on track. Let's take a look.
Oh, he was off track already as they headed towards the corner.
It's actually right on board the roll bar here. Kind of mounted up a little bit higher so you can see how the corner of the car gets a little bit wide, gets the wheels off, and it's so slippery on that grass, it's so hard to get your car back on course, then carries a little bit too much speed into here, runs out wide over the curb, and bounces off the tire barrier.
And another thing too, we have to mention that what's really hard with the runoff in air quotations, is that the grass, the way, because this is a very hilly track, is that the grass kind of banks downwards away from the racing surface. So if you're caught off track and pass for the lead here, comes from the 41 to the inside.
Are we 3? Oh no! It looks like Jesse Stevens got turned in contact with all the front runners. The 16 car, Schwenke's got big rear end damage.
Oh, and they're all still racing for each other.
Look
Paul Darling is in the middle, 3 wide.
They worked their way through turns 2, 3, and 4, and I think we got one of the cars, that's Jonathan White off track again, carrying the left rear wheel as he slides off the racetrack. And is that Stevens? Yes, it is. Stevens was the leader. Now he's off course in turn 3.
Man, tough break for him and a big change in the running order right now.
And that just shifted Nathan Saxon out to lead by 1.5 seconds.
he's
Look who's second place, though. Matt Busa in the 34.
Yeah, and he's out of drafting distance right now. So if he can keep to his line and make sure that no one catches him, he's sitting solid right now.
Jonathan White's got some huge damage to that 22 car.
Yeah, that's suspension damage. Yeah, you can see the wheel kind of cockeyed a little bit to it's turning right when it's going straight. So yeah, he's got some significant damage. He's struggling to make it through the section.
Yeah, he's really struggling. Look at his hands moving in this car, trying to get this thing under control. Sliding. I don't think this is going to last very long. He's off the racetrack again, wheeling it right now.
He's got some great car control. I will give him that. He's going to let Jake Hewlett on by you. And we're talking about Jake Hewlett. He was sitting in a fantastic spot. Was able to not get involved in that wreck, and his car is pretty much clean condition.
You can see how destroyed that left front tire is, completely towed out, and the right front tire is just completely mangled as well. That thing is not in good shape, but he somehow kept it on course this long.
Yeah, some fantastic driving from that onboard there. So hopefully he can hang on to at least something here. But yeah, you got a feel for him. That was a tough break. And actually, since it's kind of calmed down, let's try to take a look at, just quickly take a replay of that, what happened there. But here is a battle between Alessandrini and Travis Schwenke.
Yeah, we'll stand and just let these guys finish up. And all right, they're cleared. So Alessandrini up to 3rd spot. Let's take you back just a little bit, back to the beginning of the lap and the carnage that ensued down into turn number 1. It was a wild couple of corners. Let's take a look.
Yeah, this all started with Saxon with a big dive to the inside of Stevens, and then it looks like Schwenke got into him.
Yep, and then they all just kind of piled in.
Oh, and Busa went off the track and came back on in front of these guys.
Well, that works.
Second place.
And then you see that everyone behind just trying to get shuffled out, and this is where the 13 car went for a wild ride. The 22, again, he got some big damage already. 13 car slid off course, and the 22 did some more damage there off of Robert Hartley, and just absolute chaos there in that lap. So everything was going very smoothly, and then it just changed very, very quickly.
Yeah, indeed, and we were talking about if Saxon could maintain the gap, he was able to hold on to the lead, but he lost 0.4 of a second to Matt Busa last lap through.
Sam Scott off track. I believe that's down in turn number 1, and I think this was another engine.
Yep.
The incident between the 13 car of Jesse Stevens and the 16 car of Travis Schwenke is under review by race officials.
All right, thanks a lot. And that 98 car did blow a motor on the downshift, so Sam Scott's race will end. We see a lot more drivers being aggressive with the transmissions tonight, Finian, in race number 2, and it's hurting them.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, we've seen a lot of these guys struggle with that, but yeah, looking at the front 5, and we were talking, Jarrett just mentioned the incidents under review between the 16 and the 13. So, and Schwenke's currently running in 5th, so that could be big if he gets a penalty.
There was just a lot of cars in a very small space, and so incidents are bound to happen. Now look at the leader; he's dragging wheels off track. Don't tell me they ain't trying around here, Finian. They're absolutely wheeling it right now.
Yeah, they've all started to close in back on each other, the top 6. So this is going to be potentially the fight for the win between these guys.
All right, how about second place Matt Busa, and Williams Esports driver sitting in that 34 car. Got DJ Alessandrini all over the rear bumper. And Busa, again, had a lot of trouble in race number 1, went off course a bunch of times, but he's a quick learner and is now sitting in a great spot to win this race if he just stays where he is right now. That lead Nathan Saxon had was 1.5 seconds. It's down to 0.4 of a second with 12.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's pretty much down to naught right now. They've all caught up with each other. It's going to be a draft battle to the end. I thought it would be a little bit more of a race, but these guys found the draft with each other, and it just kind of shows you how powerful it is.
42, Michael Borden had issues early, but sitting in 15th right now with Thomas Bresci all over his rear bumper. And they're right now running for 15th, and you see a bunch of damage to the rear bumper of that 42. He was the one that got help out of Oak Tree with Robert Hartley, and no action was taken on that incident, obviously just an accident there. 7 car out a little bit wide, that's James Stacy, went a little bit off course at the exit of the corner. You can see the tire marks way back there, and he'll lose a few spots. Ted Ho and Will Salisbury driving on by.
Yeah, there's Noah Wilson also driving on by to head up into 1.
Back up. Well, goes the 51 of Fikachi, taking advantage of the slow number 7 as well, and will make their way through turn 1. And look at this. This is all the way back here for 18th spot. Actually, 17th spot. Salisbury and Ho side by side. They're racing all over the racetrack.
And again, these guys are still fighting for points. There's something to race for them. And it looks like Tedo is going to get ahead of Will Salisbury. Now he's potentially under attack with the 84 of Wilson behind him.
All right, well, we'll let that battle continue as we head back towards the front. Look at this, top 3, nose to tail, can't even throw a blanket over them. They're that close together. You got to get a little tiny blanket thrown over them. That's how close they are. 3 drivers, 0.3 of a second.
Indeed, and as they came out that corner, looks like the 34 of Buso. He's holding up Alessandrini. Alessandrini looking like he wants to make a pass, but just doesn't have enough track to make it work.
Right on the rear bumper. Look at that. They're just playing with inches here, Finian. It's absolutely phenomenal. These guys are racing each other from all over the world and just inches between them as they work their way through Oak Tree. 10.5 minutes to go here in race number 2 of round 1 of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Nathan Saxon leads. Here's a battle now for 3rd.
Yeah, here comes Schwenke. He's got a big draft on Alessandrini. I wonder if he's waiting till they get over the hill to try to dive down.
This battle will not last for long as Travis Schwenke has been black flagged for the incident with the 13 car.
Wow, so that's huge
break
for the 16. Big penalty for the 16 to Travis Schwenke, and avoidable contact was the ruling on that. So Schwenke will have to come and serve a pass-through penalty now. Thanks for the update, Jarrett.
Yeah, tough break for Schwenke. He's going to have to come down pit road. We'll see him pull off on the pit straight right here, and yeah, tough break for him in the 16. That's gonna be a big penalty for him. Yeah, and
he's got a lot of damage too, so just adding insult to injury, putting salt in the wound, however you want to say it, gonna drop a lot of spots here. He's gonna lose, it's not gonna be a huge ton of time. I think the pit delta's 15-20 seconds through here, pretty short pit lane, but not gonna be in contention for the win. But you know who is gonna be in contention for the win is Nathan Saxon and Matt Busa, and put DJ Alessandrini and Paul Darling in the mix.
Indeed, and also Alessandrini has a potential chance to win the event overall, currently running in 3rd, finishing 2nd in the first race. So he's got a good shot of getting $100, and he may honestly just sit in 3rd just to make sure he can get the money here.
And let's see Ted Ho dropping down through the order once again, and we'll see if we can grab and figure out what happened to him. It's been 2 races in a row that he's had incidents, and just disconnected.
Might have had some connection issues.
And that's the trouble of racing on the internet. Bresci and Luke Pfeiffer, they're battling for 15th. Right, look at this battle. This is all the way back here for 14th spot. Michael Borden, Bresci, and Pfeiffer.
Yeah, and behind them.
Oh, there's Ted Ho. He's back.
Oh yeah, I guess you just saw flash out for a bit, but now back on the track and in the midst of this battle between Bresci, Pfeiffer, and Ho for 15th place. Up
through the S's, bouncing up over the curbs. Pfeiffer was one of the cars involved in an earlier incident, but not a whole lot of damage to that car, so he's looking in pretty good shape. Let's head back up to the front once again. The top 4, top 5 are now really separated.
Oh, Saxon goes off the track, and he's going to lose a ton of time here, and potentially he'll stay with the pack. But yeah, that was a tough break for him.
From 1st to 5th in just 1 corner. Big mistake for Nathan Saxon, and guess what? That's exactly how Jesse Stevens lost the first race, and he might lose the draft here as well. Busa takes the lead here with 5 laps to go.
And how about Paul Darling getting himself in position, currently running in the 3rd? I didn't really think we would see much out of him, but he looks like he wants to win.
And DJ Alessandrini taking a look to the inside of Busa, takes a look and will dive down to the inside into roller coaster. And here comes Darling.
Wow,
Took a look.
Yeah, Busa left the door open. Darling took advantage of it, but Busa cut him off. But Busa was at a dangerous corner there, put 2 wheels off the track under braking. That's never a good combination, but was able to keep the car on the track. But yeah, we'll see if Busa can respond to Alessandrini taking the lead.
DJ Alessandrini back up front in an MX-5. That's something we're really used to saying around here on Sim TV. Matt Busa to second, Paul Darling third, Robert Hartley fourth, Nathan Saxon trying to hang on to this front group in fifth after making a mistake entering Oak Tree.
Yeah, and how about Jake Hewlett just back there running his own race in sixth? He's been really quiet, just kind of running around there. Avoided that big incident, was running 10th at the time, involving most of the leaders, and not finding himself in sixth. And if something else happens, he could get a top 5.
Started up in 13th, so great climb forward, 7 spots for him. I don't pull away on this lead too much. We saw a couple drivers throw away a chance at a race win in race number 1. How about race number 2? Up over the curbs, Alessandrini takes an aggressive line. Busa does too, some dirt flying in the air off the edge of the curb. They work their way through the S's once again.
You can see a little bit of a separation between Alessandrini, Busa, and Darling as they head off through the snake section.
And where did Schwenke end up? In 12th spot, so he was running much better than that. So I had to give up quite a few positions. And there's the 29 car of Jordy Fike, just going to let him on by. But again, big mistake for Schwenke, and that will take him out of contention. Really impressed with Busa, though. I mean, that race 1 was not pretty. He cleaned it up and is running extremely well in race 2. But the question is he quick enough to keep up with Alessandrini? What do you think?
Oh, I definitely think he's going to be able to, but he's got to worry about Paul Darling and Hartley behind him, as they're all over his back bumper, and if he's not careful, they'll just be able to slip on by.
Robert Hartley sitting in 4th, race number 1. He's been hanging out inside the top 5 for all of race 2. Maybe just strategizing here a little bit. It will be 3 to go when we get to the line here, Finian. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah, time is starting to run out for these guys. I mean, these guys up here are within a good shot, within striking range of the leader, but you got to start setting up your moves now.
We got Busa using every little bit of the racetrack. Paul Darling tucked in behind as well, so the top 4 in close range here, but also Nathan Saxon has been able to kind of keep himself tucked in behind the draft after making that mistake. Jumps the curbs on the exit of turn 17, and he's still close enough. He's half a second back from Hartley. He's in draft range. He'll get back up to the front here in a moment.
Yeah, and again, it was very close for him. He could have lost that and fallen potentially back to Jake Hewlett. But it looks like he's going to just be able to grasp onto this top 5 pack.
Look at the nose of the 03, the tan car here, Finian. He's got some decent damage on the nose. Aerodynamics, pretty important in these cars. Not a whole lot of power to overcome. Darling slips, and off the racetrack he goes and crashed for the 55.
It looks like he's going to get it going back, but he's going to lose potentially 6th place there to see Jake Hewlett get on by.
So Paul Darling spins in turn 1, gets helped off the racetrack there as well, and yeah, he just gets on the brakes and just gets loose here, and then gets hit by the 03. Nothing Hartley could have done to miss that.
Well, let's run on board with Paul Darling. I'm kind of curious of what he did there.
Yeah, downshifted to first.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. I've seen it before because I've done that before. The way the car whips around. So yeah, put the car in first.
I think he blew the motor there, Finian. He's reset back to the pit. So Paul Darling's night is over. We've seen about 3 or 4 cars miss shifts or downshift too much and blow the motors on these cars.
A lot of blown engines here tonight. Particularly in race 2. It might have happened in race 1, but we've caught a lot of them on camera for race 1.
And that's such a shame because again, these cars are H-pattern stick shift, 6-speed transmissions. You got to clutch your upshifts. You can get away without clutching on the downshifts, but I think a lot of drivers are missing that gate to I think he was going down, right? So he's going from third. I think he was looking for third gear and ended up picking out first, and that over-revved the engine and blew it on the 55. So Darling out here on lap 12. You got an update, Jarrett?
Another driver who's out is Ted Ho. He has manually disconnected. Not sure if that was an incident, threshold breaching, but he has disconnected from the session.
He was having internet issues too, so that could be the case as well. But thanks for the update, Jarrett. So for the lead, Busa and Alessandrini kind of separated now. Hartley and Saxon just a bit behind.
And even to quote on Hartley too, he got even more damage to the nose of his car, which is definitely not what he needed here. And it looks like a gap starting to build between 2nd and 3rd place. So I'm kind of curious if this gap will expand and maybe bring possible winners here down to just the top 2.
All right, so it should be 2 laps to go at the line here. Let's take a look at how things are rolling so far for the top 20 cars. This is a little bit out of order right now as Alessandrini is just taking the lead away, or actually Bussa had a shot at it, but at the line there, half a second between the top two, and you can see the gaps for the rest of the top 20 as they make their way through. And it's going to come down to the last couple laps, just like it did in race number 1. It's been a phenomenal event so far. And Bussa, the Williams Esports driver, sitting in second place. Does he have anything for DJ Alessandrini?
Yeah, we'll find out the next lap and a half here. He's got to set up something here, and I think he might be waiting for the last lap to make the pass. I'm sure he doesn't want to be a sitting duck with Alessandrini in behind him.
And Alessandrini, remember, in race number 1, he didn't pass Robert Hartley on the back straightaway. He waited till the very last part that he could on that front straightaway and almost drafted right by him. So maybe he could try to set, or Bussa could learn from that and try to set something up. I just don't know if Bussa was aware of how DJ did that, as he was a little bit farther back in the pack. So strategizing, chess match, we're about to get ready, and this is basically turning into a game of Sudoku or something. The end here, it's all numbers, trying to figure out where you want to place your car, what gear you want to be in, and how you're going to attack that leader.
I don't think I ever heard that before.
Well, hey, you just did. Welcome to SYM TV. All right, Robert Hartley in third. He's closed that gap. He's coming here, Finian. He's going to have a shot at this.
Yeah, he's pushing the car, too. He just went off track just a little bit, but is really pushing the limits of the car all the way up to the back bumper of the 34. So Bussa can't rest just yet from any attacks from behind him, because you see Hartley there up in behind him. But you can see visually that he's starting to lose some time on the straightaway due to the nose damage.
Matthew Smith in the 32 car. He's gone out wide and trying to see what part of the racetrack this is. This is through the S's.
Yeah, top of the hill here.
And maybe just an overcorrection like we saw in race number 1. Just hits the curb too much.
Yeah, it took some grass also, yeah, so that just upset the balance in the car, and around he went.
And an update on one of the drivers that we're quite familiar with, Jonathan Dcunha, running in 6th place right now. An excellent run for Dcunha.
Yeah, he's got Florence Arabian behind him, though, so he can't rest just yet. And Jesse Stevens also in 8th after what happened to him. He's been able to somewhat rebound.
And Jesse Stevens in 8th place. Travis Schwenke back up to 9th after that mistake that he made and got into the side of... what vehicle was that? That ended up spinning. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Schwenke ended up getting a penalty for that, had to drive on through. All right.
Stevens.
Yeah, that was Stevens in the 13. Okay, so this should be the last lap. Yeah, 1 minute remaining. One more time around Virginia International Raceway for round 1. Whoa! Hartley's way out wide. He's going to be off track, and just like that, the chance to win the race is over. And I think he's disconnected after that one as well.
Yeah, it might have actually been an incident limit there. So.
Could have been. DJ Alessandrini leads Matt Bussa, Nathan Saxon. It's going to be down to these top 3. If they get together, Jake Hewlett is 5 seconds back in 4th place. Everyone else behind is going to shift up 1 spot as Hartley has disconnected. Bussa sitting in 2nd, going to have a great run down the back straight. Let's see if he can take advantage and get this win.
Yeah, indeed. Now it's just a matter of setting up, just following in behind him, finding maybe a weak spot where he can get Alessandrini. But yeah, he's got to wait for him potentially to make a mistake. Otherwise, he's going to have to settle in for 2nd.
All right, now just planning this out. The draft, I think we're going to see a move here on the back straightaway, but DJ learned last night in the Grid Life series at VIR that you can back up a driver in Oak Tree and keep them from getting a run. So let's just see, we're right on board here with Bussa and see what Alessandrini does as a defensive measure here on the last lap.
And here they head up into Oak Tree, and it looks like he's going through pretty much like normal.
Will DJ back him down? Doesn't look like it. White flag officially flies.
Oh, Alessandrini off the track. And that might have killed some momentum, although it looks like he's pretty much fine. Looks like Nathan Saxon's a little bit too far behind, so it's going to come down to these 2 drivers up here in the front.
Defensive line for DJ, but now he moves back over to the right. Matt Bussa follows in the tire tracks. Does Alessandrini take it to his defensive line here, or will he stay on the racing line? And looks like he's going to stay to the outside. Bussa looks to the inside, side by side for the lead. A couple corners left to decide the winner of the 2019 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge Round 1. DJ pulls ahead in the final corners. Bussa goes way to the outside, through the grass, up over the curb. Can't quite get there, not to the quarter panel just yet.
He's got one last opportunity here in the final corner. If he can set this up for a run on the front straightaway, Alessandrini hops over the curbs.
Not going to be enough, I don't think. Coming back to the checkers, checkered flag flying, and it looks like it's going to be coming to the checkers. DJ Alessandrini wins race 2 here in round 1 of the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Wow.
Yeah, solid job. Talk about consistency. Finished 2nd in race number 1, and is now going to win race number 2. There you see Nathan Saxon in 3rd. Jake Hewlett's going to come home in 4th.
Jesse Stevens rebounds for 5th after all that. Jonathan Dcunha, fantastic run for him in 6th. And the rest of the field coming across the line now. Brescia, top 10 for him in that 25 car. Great run there as well. Luke Pfeiffer coming across the line in 10th spot. And the rest of the field scrolling on through. This is very Very exciting. That race was phenomenal at the closing stages there.
Yeah, indeed. So fantastic stuff from these drivers for the win there, and very clean fight for the win as well.
Absolutely. And Busa off track there a little bit. Almost got exciting there for a moment. All right, and Dcunha officially in 6th place, and one of our drivers that has been with us from the beginning. Excellent to see him finish as well as he did. We have a, coming to the line, was it 0.05 of a second between those two? Let's take a quick look at this. Yes, it was. This is a battle for 10th spot. And look at this coming back to the checkers. Luke Pfeiffer in the brown and Michael Borden in the pink car coming to the checkers side by side for 10th spot. Look at this. 0.05 of a second.
Line, and yeah, similar to what we saw in race 1.
Absolutely. Let's go back. I want to take a look at DJ and Matt as they were coming back to the checkers. That whole really last couple corner sequence from let's right on board with Busa here as he makes this move.
And here's him setting up the pass for this on the straightaway there. Looks out to the left.
Up the inside and almost had this pass completed, and then they get down to the corner, and this is where DJ pulls ahead a little bit with his experience on the brakes.
Yeah, tries to bully Busa out. Busa goes through the grass, trying to keep to the left of Alessandrini, but gets cut off there, and that was all she wrote through the last few corners.
Excellent result, excellent finish, excellent racing here in the 2019 SPEC MX-5 Championship. And let's take a minute to just kind of catch our breath. We'll take a look at the results from this event. And again, Robert Hartley, a 21st place finish after hitting the DQ limit there at the end. That's a big implications for him. Jackson Robillard didn't have a great race too either. Dakota Dickerson, the pro driver, all the way back in, I believe that was 35th place. DJ Alessandrini, Busa, and the rest of the field scrolling on through. Excellent results there. Pretty phenomenal to see that go down as it did.
Yeah, indeed. So great racing in both races at the end, and hoping to see more of this type of racing throughout the rest of the season.
Unfortunate there for Jimmy Hume. He was in 13th place on the last lap there, but he did receive a black flag for an incident with the 29 car, and he ended up finishing 23rd here tonight.
Oh, man. So unfortunate end of the night for Jimmy. But all right, well, we're not quite done yet, so don't go anywhere. We still got interviews to do, so stay with us. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Bear with us. Welcome back live here to SYM TV and Winding Road Magazine. We're here with sixth place finisher Jonathan Dcunha. John, welcome to the booth here. You're the guy that really was the one that found us in the first place, and we owe everything that we've done back to you. But sixth place finish in race number 2. Walk us through your event tonight.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was a great finish. After the way race 1 went, I got a drive-through penalty. I got my nose in a little deep on somebody. I shouldn't have been there. Had an okay drive back in race 1, I think 12th, 14th maybe. And this race I got lucky, got some spin-offs, and was just able to keep it clean the rest of the race. So hopefully we can carry that momentum to the next race and maybe pick up a few more spots, try to hang on to the lead group if we can, because, man, those guys are fast.
We saw a lot of drivers drafting quite a bit, but in comparison to the newer 2016 Global MX-5, is the draft stronger or weaker in this car for you?
I think it's a little bit stronger. I'm very new to this car. This is the first time I've raced it. But, yeah, it seems to pull pretty good along that back straight there. So we'll see on tracks where maybe the draft's not as prominent, how guys can hang on.
All right, well, Jonathan Dcunha, sixth place finish for the driver, the number 31. Thanks a lot, John. We'll see you next week. Or next month.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you whenever. We see you a lot.
Right, take care, guys.
Have a good night. See ya.
Thank you.
All right, next in the booth is going to be Nathan Saxon, driver of the number 41. Nathan, an eventful night for you, coming home P3. That's got to be a huge success for you, though, all in all, on the podium for race number 2.
Yeah, just kind of set out at the night start just to get 2 top 5s, which I did. A little bummed considering making a few mistakes that kind of cost me there, but I'm glad I didn't get caught up in the big one in turn 1.
We've seen a lot of drivers try to set up the pass for the win on the back straightaway, but it doesn't really seem to work out because of that downhill section in turns 14 through 17. So had you been a little bit closer, what's the strategy on that last lap? Is it to draft by on the back straight or maybe wait a little bit longer to make your move?
I think, honestly, team up with either one of them, whoever's right in front of me, and try and at least get by 1 if I'm in third, and then try and outbrake him. But it's kind of hard doing it from third. From second, it's a little easier, but still, it's really hard to pass someone into that end of the backstretch.
All right, when Nathan Saxon comes home, position number 3. Thanks for talking to us, Nathan. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Next driver to be in the booth is going to be Matt Busa, driver the number 34, and there he's in the booth with us now. Hey, Matt, race 1 was a little bit messy for you, but race number 2, a phenomenal run for you, coming home just 0.2 of a second short. Walk us through that final lap with DJ Alessandrini.
Yeah, the final lap, by that time I actually had the track learned and stuff. I had no laps in this track before qualifying today. So the first race was just to use this practice, basically. And yeah, I was waiting until the backstretch. Hopefully I can get next to him going into the left-hand turn after the backstretch. And I did. And then I saw he was going to wash up a little wide and exit. So I tried to hook my rights on the curb while my lefts were in the grass, and I was still drifting. So I just pulled in behind him and settled for second, took the points.
All right, well, a solid second place finish for Matt Busa. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck in your other ventures this year. We'll talk to you later for sure. Have a good night, Matt.
Yep, thank you.
All right, now we're to talk to winner DJ Alessandrini, a guy that we're very familiar with, talking to him as a race winner. DJ, a phenomenal finish, but you had to work pretty hard for it tonight. Walk us through that finish with Matt Busa.
I feel like it was gifted to me in a nice sparkly basket, and whoever gave it to me went, "Here you go, thank you." Because I don't feel like I deserved to win that race. I didn't expect to win it, but man, I'll take it. That was real exciting on my end.
We saw last night in the Grid Life series, you were battling with another driver, and I believe it was it Hartley? It was Hartley that you were battling down in the Oak Tree section, and he backed you up and kind of kept you from getting a run. Was that going through your mind there on the last lap?
That was Kenton. That was Kenton.
Oh, Kenton, that's right.
Yeah, and for sure I was thinking of doing the Kenton maneuver, but I realized that Matt backed up more than I could. Matt backed up to the point where I couldn't do that anymore. I think I realized that like a tad too late, because if I would have just left when he was backing up, then he wouldn't have even gotten next to me. I think Kenton has a lot of practice doing that maneuver, so I'll have to practice that, because apparently it's pretty effective in these Miata races. And for people who didn't watch the race last night, it's basically you park it at the apex, and the moment the other car has their trajectory picked, they can't go any other way, and you use them as like a boost when they hit your back bumper, and then you just kind of drive away from them. It's kind of a little bit of a dirty move, but I think it's legal, and when it comes to this kind of racing, that's what you have to do. I didn't blame Kenton yesterday, and I wouldn't have felt bad doing it today. It's the name of the game.
All right, well, DJ Alessandrini, winner here in race number 2 of round 1 of the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. DJ, thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Hey, wait, 1 second.
Sure, go for it.
I know my dad's watching, and I just want to throw out a special thanks to him. We've been preparing a race car for Grid Life Touring Cup this year, and he has been a rock star when it comes to helping me get stuff ready. I'm not the most mechanical guy in the world, but if it wasn't for my dad helping me get this thing ready, I don't know how it would be road racing this upcoming year. So I just want to throw a thanks out to my dad.
All right, DJ. Well, thanks a lot, and we look forward to seeing you compete in Grid Life this year, and also the rest of the season here in the SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, guys.
That'll wrap up interviews here tonight, Finian. But I mean, Finian, does it get any better than that? Some phenomenal road racing, and not a whole lot of incidents in race number 2. Especially that start was one of the best I've seen in any road race in iRacing. Period, with this many cars.
Yeah, indeed, some fantastic stuff. A lot of professionalism from a lot of the drivers. In their etiquette and just on-track action. But yeah, definitely you couldn't really ask for more than for 2 races coming down pretty much to the last few corners and being decided there. So some solid racing from everyone here that came out tonight.
All right, well, before we go, we want to give a couple more thank yous to some people that made this all possible. Dave Fitzgerald is the mastermind of this series, was the one that originally approached and asked if this is something we could do, and went out, and Tom Martin as well, the owner of SPEC MX-5 and also Winding Road. Tom Martin and Dave Fitzgerald have been instrumental and been so friendly and kind in helping us get this up and running. So they've done so much work in preparation for this event, and we want to extend a huge thank you to them. And that'll be for each and every event that we do in 2019. Again, also a big thanks to our sponsors again, SPEC MX-5 for coming on board and offering prizes, as well as Winding Road, LevelUp Racing School, and Rick Motech, and all those links to their websites are in the video description. You can go check out their products and all those sponsors putting something on the table for these drivers to race for. So a huge thank you to those guys, as well as Matthews Imports from Binghamton, New York, for lending us that MX-5 for the intro, as well as iRacing for having a phenomenal simulator to use as a platform for this series. Again, Finian, phenomenal race.
Yeah, indeed. So really looking forward to the race next month that should be at Summit Point. I'm 99% sure on that.
Yeah, well, it's in the schedule. It's at Summit Point, and that's a home track for a lot of drivers. I know several from the DC region SCCA are in this series, and we'll be right at home at Summit Point in about a month's time in March. So we thank you and for joining us. And again, first broadcast here, so there's some bugs to work out for next time. But we'll have the next link up about 2 weeks prior to the next event. So you'll see that pop up on Winding Road Magazine's YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining us. Hit that red subscribe button and the bell for notifications to be notified for future live streams, and as well as head to youtube.com/SYM TV broadcasting and subscribe there for more of SYM TV action. And again, my name is Kyle Heyer alongside Finian Dcunha and Jarrett Maki, and we're the members of SYM TV. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time in March at Summit Point. Have a great night.